So he's joining us. Just hold on. I sent him the speaker link. As a part of our this session, first 15 minutes we kept only for this kind of setup. For example, giving introduction about the event, about the agendas, and also helping our speakers if they are having difficulties to join. Then from exactly like in next 2 to 3 minutes, we should be able to start. Still, I'm communicating with Frankie. Just hold on. Frank, sorry. Just give us a few seconds. Still, he is not able to join. Um, I think he is able to join. Yes. Uh, just in case if Frankie take time, maybe we can start with our Abdul Rafiu. So hi Abdul Rafiu, are you there? You are muted. Maybe you can unmute and talk.
Hi, Ridwan. Yeah.
Yeah, hi Rafi. So I think Frank is having some difficulties in joining his session. So without waiting much, I think we can start with your session already, since audience are already here, and also we are going out of the time. So let me introduce Mr. Abdul Rafiu. He's also an expert and Microsoft MVP, and his session, his topic is training models, not just machine, building human centric centered AI that listens, see, and includes. I mean, the topic itself very exciting, and I myself is very exciting for this session. So over to you, Abdul Rafiu. You can share your screen and start the session.
All right, thank you, John.
Mhm. Yeah, we can see you, and I'll bring your screen also here. Yeah. So we have now your screen also coming in the here, so you can continue.
All right. Is my screen visible?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
All right, thank you. So yeah, I'm Abdurrafir Zofa. I'm a senior AI slash machine learning consultant and a Microsoft MVP. And today my session will be on training models, not just machines, and building human-centered AI. And this is a bit about me. Like I said, I'm a senior AI slash machine learning consultant, accessibility and inclusion advocate, founder of Azure Learn AI. I have 4+ years experience in AI accessibility, innovation, and community-driven tech education. And also, I co-founded a news accessibility platform that leverages AI to make news accessible to the deaf and blind people. So, first, I'll start with the problem that we have in the world today, where AI is being discussed. There are emerging technologies that are being originated from various AI technologies. But one critical problem that we often don't come to realize is the fact that not all AI systems are inclusive and accessible to the wider individuals in the entire world. And I'm talking about 1.3 billion people who are waiting for AI to notice them. And the fact remains that most of these AI models are being trained to be able to answer generic questions, perform amazing tasks, but most of them are often not human-centered. They're often not meant for people who are visually impaired or people who are hearing impaired or people who have language barriers and can't access these AI systems. And in the race of building these bigger models, we still often forget these people on the other end of our systems. The challenge we face is that we are building AI for the privileged few, not the diverse many. 15% of the world live with disabilities. 77,000 plus languages are being spoken every day globally, and yet AI serves just an handful of that. And the current approach that these AI systems are using is that you build first and you include later. And it often don't happen like that. You could take ChatGPT for example. If you download the ChatGPT mobile application, you'll see that someone who is visually impaired can't use that system, or someone who might have a localized language they're familiar with won't be able to use that system, or someone who even have neurological disabilities might not be able to use the AI system that OpenAI has released for individuals to use. And this is the result of something that normal fit individuals can access within seconds. People with disabilities are often required to go through the extra mile or find feasible approaches along the middle layer to get access to these models. And the cost is that the excluded users are often left behind in the digital race or the AI revolution, and they totally miss the innovation of the entire system. And those who need AI not just to be powerful, but to be present. These are the people who are aiming for. People with disabilities, 1.3 billion people currently in the world that want to access these AI systems. First, I'll start with human-centered AI. So what is human-centered AI? It's not just a buzzword, it's about purposeful engineering. So currently, the traditional method of building these models, these AI systems, is that you train a model, you create an interface to interact with it, and you bring it out to the public. Oftentimes, an user, it has either little accessibility needs or none at all. But with human-centered AI, you build a model based off user needs. You do an exploratory user research to understand how these models are going to be used by the different individuals involved. And when these individuals come on board, you take their pinpoint as user needs and try to create an inclusive design alongside the model being trained. So from the model being trained, you are going to now implement the AI models that are going to be interacting with these users. So with this, you've created an AI system that is human-centered. And creating such system is going to create, create a shift. And that shift is going to change from a one-size-fits-all to adaptive intelligence. So we are no longer building one system that is going to work for a few of the majority, but a system that can adapt to various user perspectives, various user needs, and various user language barriers. And from post-launch patches to inclusion-first design. So instead of building a system that solves amazing problem but limits it to little users to use, you create a system that is inclusive first by design and is able to be accessible by these individuals in consign. And from prompt engineering to purposeful engineering, you get to see the wilder impact of building such systems that are human-centered, training models that are human-centered. So you just don't limit it to prompt engineering, you try and create purpose of the humans, the users at the other end who really need such systems. And there are three pillars to these frameworks, which I earlier mentioned in the session title: the AI that listens, the AI that sees, and the AI that includes. And we tend to originate it from how can you build or train an AI system that truly serves everyone in concern. The listening part is the AI that hears the unheard. Most people are hearing impaired, and they often can't use AI systems who have to do with real-time speech processing or systems that have to do with audio descriptions and voice synthesis. And for real-time speech processing across accents and languages, the AI has to be inclusive in the sense that it's able to adapt to various users' nuances and be able to create an intermediary layer between the conversation being heard from the AI models to the conversation intelligence for the deaf users. And this can also impact the audio descriptions and voice synthesis of that AI system. And for the AI that sees the unseen, we are trying to add, currently most AI systems use auth descriptions to add taglines to images to create a pillar for people who are visually impaired. But most image description still lacks scene understanding. They can't really adapt to people who are visually impaired. That's why technologies and innovations like OCR and document intelligence are being brought forward to cater for these blind users. And we also have to take note of visual navigation assistance that is going to allow these individuals to easily navigate through their AI systems without fully utilizing self-sightedness. And for the AI that includes, we're trying to build a system. You should build a system that includes everyone regardless of them and their background. So in simple terms, including AI for the overlooked. We understand that different people come from different backgrounds, different people speak different languages, different people have different learning styles, different people have various cognitive conditions, and you try to create an AI system that can adapt to those people's nuances and behavioral factors. So you first of all take note of the multilingual translation with cultural context in mind. and adaptive communication for neurodivergent users. Users who have dyslexia or users who have um, hard understanding of learning the concept of these AI systems. And if we're looking at the broader framework to build this system, the Azure AI ecosystem already provides a large amount of tools to make up these building blocks and to create a realization impact to what is being done. The technical foundation for inclusive AI is very, very straightforward. We already have the Azure OpenAI service, we have the Azure AI speech service, the Azure AI vision service, and the Azure AI translator service. So, regardless of any system you are building, at its core, it should be able to listen, see, and include its users. The Azure OpenAI service allows you to access a wide varieties of models with accessibility focused prompting based on adaptive intelligence. And it creates a layer for you to custom fine-tune these specific models based on specific user needs, which can then in turn create that adaptive layer. The Azure AI speech service have access to over 90 plus languages with accent recognition. And as years come on and months go by, more languages are keep on getting added, and you get to diversify it within various use cases. There are custom voice synthesis that you could imply based off preserving personality, and you could also embed real-time translation for multilingual support. The Azure AI Vision creates an image analysis with detailed scene descriptions, OCR technology, object cognitive recognition, that allows you to read concepts using AI vision directly from documents and understand its structure. And for the video analysis, you get to see how diversified the dynamic accessibility can be in terms of catering to people who are visually impaired. And for the inclusion, we are aiming for the Azure AI Translator service, which gives you a layer for you to interact with over 100 plus languages pairs with cultural adaptation. And you could also preserve with various different use cases, whether it comes to conversation translation, document translation, or real-time conversation translation, which leads to the inclusion layer implementation. And the architectural plan for building models or training models that just don't work are human-centered, includes and sees. We look at the architectural pattern, the inclusive AI stack, how to structure your human-centered AI system. The first layer is to start with the data foundation layer. In this layer, we will look at the diverse representative data set that represents various groups within various cultural nuances and various cultural concepts, users of various needs, and try and make it as diversified as possible. You create a bias detection and mitigation pipeline to make sure that whatever data set you are using to train your model is very, very much clean and is free from bias using various mitigation pipelines. And you make sure that the data you are gathering is privacy preserved and the data is well collected. And for the layer two, look at the AI services orchestration. Within the Azure ecosystem, there are various services that can be utilized. For example, the Azure AI Foundry software that serves as a software for unified model management. You can use it to manage the various AI services I earlier stated, whether it's Azure AI Speech Service, Azure AI Vision, or Azure AI Translator. And it allows you to utilize the multimodal AI coordination where you could combine various services together to form a full-scale system, whether it's the speech plus vision or speech plus vision plus text or speech plus vision plus text dot video analysis, wherever service that your application utilizes, you can cater it based off the foundational architectural pattern. And it also allows real-time processing with subs of 200 millisecond latency minimum, which shows that your AI system could still perform significantly well, regardless of how much you combine these different AI services together to form an inclusive AI stack for building or training models. And for the layer 3, we're looking at the accessibility adaptation. In WCAG 2.1 Act create a compliance layer for you to actually build system that really matters. So you could already see that various initiatives or various policies are being brought in forth to make sure that systems being built, whether it's AI or not, are being accessible by default and are able to adapt to various user concerns or user needs. And it's integratable with assistive technology and is very, very much easy to personalize based off users' experience or adaptation. And for the last layer, which is the fourth layer, the inclusive user interface. Now we've talked about how you've gathered your data, how you've been able to utilize the various Azure AI services. So create an orchestration layer that utilizes the various combined AI services together through a unified model management software called Azure AI Foundry. You've been able to align it with the various available policies. And now it's left for you to create an interface to interact with that layer, the train model. You have to take note of multi-input modularities. For example, you don't just build an AI system that takes text by default as the only option. You could adapt it through various other modularities like voice, touch, or eye tracking, or even facial recognition. And the adaptive output format could be audio, visual, or haptic based off the user needs. That's the adaptive intelligence. And it always has to be context aware based off the response generation. The response the AI model is generating must be context aware based off the user needs. Now we'll look at building AI that actually lists things on a more drilled down level. The speech intelligence for accessibility is the core components you need is the real-time transcription with Azure Speech Service, custom speech models for accent and dialect recognition, emotion detection for contextual understanding, multi-speaker identification for groups conversation, and the implementation pattern is very straightforward. You take in the audio input, you reduce the noise, you create a speech recognition layer, translate based off the user's language after you've detected it, and then you create a context analysis on those voice inputs you've taken, the audio inputs you've taken, and you create the accessible output, whether it's text, sign language, audio, or description. This is building AI that listens. And the key technical consideration for you to take in forward is the fact that streaming transcription has to align with the confidence scoring. How well can your model adapt to the transcription being generated by the audio files it's outputting or streaming? And does it have offline capability for reliable access, or it's only going to be accessible through online mediums? And is it easily integratable with hearing aids or assistive technologies that these persons with disabilities already utilize? And lastly, does it preserve the privacy of these users when interacting with the system through voice processing? For building AI that sees, it's very straightforward. While talking about the computer vision for accessibility, where you are utilizing the essential, we're utilizing the following essential capabilities. First is the scene understanding with spatial relationship mapping. You try and understand the scene in which the user is in using various named entities within that user's environment to try and understand what is being talked about. And you use OCRO with layout preservation for document reading. This creates the Azure AI vision layer that allows you to incline your AI model to these persons who have low visual representation or who can't even see at all. And you implement object detection and tracking to make sure that the system is able to track the navigation of various elements, either on screen or out screen. And you also implement facial expression analysis for social context, especially for users who can't speak but can communicate based off their facial expressions. And the technical architecture is very straightforward, where you could take in a video input or image input as an example, preprocess it, and send it to the computer vision API from the Azure AI Foundry resource and add a semantic analysis layer from it. From that, you're able to depict if it's negative, positive, or neutral, and use that factor for natural language generation, which will then return an audio description or a text output. This is for persons who can't see, but want description elements to be embedded within the AI systems they interact with. And for the building AI system that include, yeah, we majorly talk about the multilingual implementation. and the diverse implementation strategies for neurodivergent users, users with various cognitive disabilities. Now, we're looking at four core technologies, which is the neural machine translation with context preservation. We're also looking at the cultural adaptation engines for appropriate responses. We're looking at cross-lingual embeddings for semantic understanding and localized pipelines for URL and content understanding. So you take in the user's inputs and try to create a machine learning translation based off the context of that user through context analysis and preserve it for the next pipelines moving forward. You create a cultural adaptation engine that can adapt to the various user cultural backgrounds, their various user needs, before then passing it into a semantic understanding layer that understands the inputs being passed or the outputs being released in more depth, and then align it through the localized pipeline for UI and content visualization. The implementation strategy is also very clear, where we're taking the inputs, which can be input from any language, because here we're trying to be diversified as much as possible. There is creating AI that actually includes. You first of all detect the language, then perform a cultural context analysis on that language, and then align it for translation plus adaptation to make sure that the input of that user is able to align with the cultural preference of the said user, and then create a response generation as the output. For advanced patterns, you create zero shot translation for new language pairs. You make sure that cultural context preservation is preserved in conversations, and multilingual content generation is always embedded within the various aspects of the system. Now, the design patterns for this multimodal system, we have four major patterns. The first pattern is us considering the adaptive interface design. Here we talk about the dynamic UI adjustment based on the user capabilities, and for the progressive enhancement from basic to advanced features. For the adaptive interface design, you try and adapt the UI that the user is interacting with different adaptive concerns, whether it's voice inputs, text, auth messages, or even sign language implementation. And always try to implement fallback mechanisms that will be on the standby when one system fails and the other proceeds. And the pattern two is for the multimodal orchestration. Here we'll talk about the seamless switching between input methods, whether it's voice, touch, or gesture. Because we understand that persons with disabilities have various disabilities that varies from each other, they interact with the system using various methods. It could be voice, it could be touch, it could be gesture. You implement this multimodal orchestration to make sure that based off the user using the system, that's the user needs, it's able to switch seamlessly to the right input method. And you make sure that redundant information are being avoided and all information that the system is outputting or inputting are always reliable across various multimodal methods or various contexts. For the third pattern, that's the inclusive data pipeline, we try and create a diverse data collection pipeline that reduces the bias in the system through a bias monitoring implementation and mitigation pipeline to make sure that there isn't bias in the system. Most of these generative AI are often trained with specific geographic data, which on its own creates bias. So if you are building a system that includes, you try and diversify it as much as possible, starting from the data collection. And make sure that synthetic data generation is always for underrepresented groups. So if data is not sufficient enough from the natural data we are gathering, you could implement a smooth technique to make sure that data being generated that are said to be synthetic are generated for the underrepresented groups in the diversified sets for data collection. And you always try and implement continuous feedback loops to make sure that the model improves with time. For the fourth pattern, the context-aware personalization, we include a user preference learning and adaptation technology to make sure that the system is able to learn based off the user preference at any time. And it's always responsible for the environment context and works based off context awareness, whether it's reducing noise or lightning or the various environmental factors that could hinder the system performance. The accessibility, there could be many accessibility challenges and technical solutions to them, which could lead to common pitfalls. And yeah, I would say some of the ways for you to architect your way around them and mitigate them. The challenge one, which is the most challenge we face with training models, is model bias, which often originates from the data we train our models with. The problem is that AI performs poorly for underrepresented groups. Within the data sets being collected, some groups or some classes may be underrepresented, and which in turn is going to lead to a model bias, which is going to perform less well to these underrepresented groups and perform better to the overrepresented groups. And the solution here is to implement a fairness constraints and group specific evaluation. Here, you are going to implement various ways to monitor the progress from the data set collection and try and create a smooth technique for the synthetic data generation that aligns with each group for specific metric evaluation. And some tools for you to do this still within the Azure AI Foundry portal is the Responsible AI Toolkit for bias detection APIs. And the challenge two is the performance disparities, comes of the fact that which often comes of the fact that there could be latency between various user groups. And the solution to this is that you create an edge computing for the critical accessibility features alongside every AI service you've implemented in the pipeline for the inclusive UI design and training model that is inclusive, you create a computing technique that is able to adapt to each accessibility features while reducing latency within the various user groups. And the implementation for this is the Azure AI portal has an Azure IoT Edge service that allows you to process or train your model locally before then releasing it through the pipeline. And for the third challenge, we have the data privacy, which is the major concern that most users are often talking about if their data is secure or not, or is being taken into account for privacy concerns. And the problem is that the accessibility data is very, very much highly sensitive because persons with disabilities already see themselves as persons who are already underrepresented in the society, and training AI models that leaves them behind is already a big problem. If you try to create a system that includes them by design, then you have to make sure that data privacy is often prioritized across all stages. And the solution is that there are various policies available, the WCGA, for example, and other disability policies and design policies that takes in the fact that there are federated learning and differential privacy amongst various user groups, and you're trying to pin and align your AI model training, right, starting from the data based off those various privacy policies. And the Azure features for this is the confidential computing and privacy prevention, preserving machine learning techniques. And the fourth and last challenge is the compliance complexity. Many developers or many technical builders often avoid building for persons with disabilities simply because they cannot comply with some of the policies or documents that have been put in place, such as the ADA or WCAG. So for you to do this, you can create an automated compliance testing through a CID pipeline that weighs in your system through an automated testing technique and try and align it with the various principles, the various clauses that these different policies have stated. And ethical consideration is also another big part in building AI for inclusive um, uh, people, persons with disabilities. AI that actually sees, yes, and includes. And the moral framework for AI development includes four major core principles, which is dignity, equity, transparency, and privacy. For dignity, we're looking at respecting user autonomy and choice in AI interaction. You try as much as possible to put integrity in the play and make sure that whatever data is being stored in the data and how the user is being able to interact with the system is based off their preference within the different modularities you've created for them to utilize. And try and add equity to it where the performance parity is always equal across all the user groups, no matter whether it's for persons with disabilities, persons who are fit, or even different groups within the persons with disability society. And be transparent with the AI model you're training. Explain why certain decisions are affecting accessibility and how you've been able to create solutions to mitigate them. Already, we understand that generative AI systems often have an hidden layer in them, which leads to a black box problem where engineers often don't know how these AI systems come about with their decisions. But with building with inclusive design and with better prompt engineering, you could have a fraction of that knowledge and create a transparency layer for these users who will be using the system. And the last, which is often very much important, is privacy. Persons with disabilities are often concerned about their privacy. How are you able to protect the data that are being fed into these AI models? And how are you being able to encrypt them from either attack or release to unsafe arms? And you have to make sure that the techniques you are using are able to protect effectively this sensitive accessibility data, no matter the context and condition. And the technical implementation is to first have concept first design for accessibility data collection, explainable AI dashboard for critical accessibility decisions, user control panels for AI behavior customization, regular algorithmic audits for bias and fairness. So the algorithms you're using to train your models, you have to make sure that it's regularly audited to make sure that it's free from bias and it's always fair. And there are various deployment strategies for building these or training AI models that scale an AI system that actually listens, sees, and includes. And for making these AI systems inclusive and production ready, we have to take note of three key areas, which is scalability architecture, performance optimization, monitoring, and observability. Now you've gathered your data, you've made it free from bias, you've implemented the various inclusive design techniques to make sure that your AI actually includes persons with disabilities and you actually want to deploy the system. We start with the scalability architecture. How well are you able to deploy that AI system to make scaling as flexible as possible? The Azure ecosystem has an Azure IoT Edge for Azure Edge deployment for real-time accessibility concerns. And you could implement a global CDN content delivery network for multilingual content delivery across various user groups and various user contexts. Implement auto scaling based on accessibility feature and demand. You could have user loads for specific accessibility concern. For example, users with visual impairments would want to use the um, audio feature more, and you could implement an auto-scaling feature to make sure that that particular accessibility feature is available on demand, no matter the circumstances or load on the server. And make sure that your system, try as much as possible to make sure that your AI system or AI model is offline first designed for reliable access, especially for persons with disabilities who may not have access to the right tools or network to actually use these systems that are always fully online. And for performance optimization, you would want to implement model quantization to make sure that no matter how large you've trained your model, you're able to quantize it based off a smaller size and release it for development. The impact of this is that it's going to lead to faster inference and faster response time based off usage by these users. And it's also going to assist with faster integration with assistive devices and technologies that persons with disabilities already utilize, and also implement caching strategies. Data that are commonly accessed by the AI system through queries should be cached for easy retrieval when necessary, instead of only sending requests to the model, which is going to delay the response time. Implement parallel processing to make sure that various servers are handling the various multimodal input methods to reduce load on one server and make sure that output is always being utilized and given out when necessary. Also implement resource allocation to make sure that some accessibility features which are of greater demand are being prioritized over others who are less used. For the monitoring and observability, you could implement an accessibility specific metric such as response time, accuracy by user group, response by each user input model to make sure you're able to track how your users are utilizing the various accessibility input model methods you've implemented and how well they are performing based on the workload. And implement real-time bias detection to make sure that the data that the model is being trained on, taking input for and outputting for, is always ready for real-time bias detection, even during production. Track user satisfaction metrics to make sure that the persons with disabilities who are using these AI models are satisfied across the diverse population groups. There are various patterns for assistive technology integration, which often come across when you finish training your model. Individuals or companies who already use assistive technology easily integrate them into their existing layers. For ways for you to connect with these existing accessibility tools, we could take note of these three major areas, which by first is the screen reader integration, where we know we already have ARIA markup for AI generated content. We could also utilize structured data outputs for easy navigation and implement custom commands for AI integration. For the voice control systems, you could utilize Easy Dragon natural speaking voice control that is easily integratable with already existing systems. Implement custom voice commands for AI features. Some users may want better preference with specific voice types based off their preference, and that layer should be implemented and easily integratable with existing systems, and there should be hands-free operation patterns. For the alternative input devices, such as eye tracking or switch navigation support, you should create an easily integratable layer or components that takes note of gesture recognition or motor for persons with disabilities, and also people who may have brain computer interface for readiness. This is a demo development workflow for inclusive AI design, where we're going to look like the step-by-step implementation process for designing AI systems for persons with disabilities, where phase one is the inclusive requirements. First, you do your user research across the diverse user groups with diverse accessibility communities and make sure that the requirements you are gathering through the software development lifecycle is being met and aligned with the user needs of those particular user groups. And it should be the accessibility requirements should be properly written down with documentation in mind. And the performance target for different groups should also be taken into the inclusive requirement gathering. For the phase two, which is the architectural setup, like I said, the Azure AI Foundry already has a varieties of these software tools for you to utilize for project configuration and for you to utilize the various, whether it's speech service, Azure AI Vision, Translator, whatever service that is required, you can easily find them in the Azure AI Foundry and utilize them. And it also allows you to use multi-service integration planning where necessary, and also implement accessibility testing framework setup that you could easily put inside the pipeline when releasing these models to production for persons with disabilities to test and iterate through. For the core development, implement speech, vision, and translation features, build adaptive UI component that can adapt to the various user groups, integrate with assistive technologies where necessary. Phase 4 is testing and validation. Implement automated accessibility testing that aligns with the WCAG compliance policy to make sure that the AI model you trained or the AI system you build aligns with the already existing policies for accessibility concerns, and make sure that there's performance evaluation across the various user groups within the persons with disabilities community. For the last phase, which is phase 5, you would want to implement deployment and monitoring metrics to make sure that the model you've deployed, which is already in production, is able to align with a monitoring metric for accessibility monitoring. And always make sure that continuous feedback collection is put in the layer to make sure that there's satisfaction metrics collected across the various user groups and improve based off the feedbacks or bugs that might be cited or bias that might be detected in the model trained to make sure it improves the overall user experience of the intended users. And cost optimization might also be a big concern for persons who are building a system for people with disabilities. And we can optimize this using some of the affordable and sustainable metrics like this. The Azure Cost Management Portal allows you to optimize and align the AI services you are using based off the workloads of the people you intend to build it for. And you can also implement reserved instances for predictable accessibility features, features you feel like might be of high demand compared to the others to reduce cost on a long-term metric or on a long-term timeline. And also include a spot pricing for non-critical training workloads. Lastly, for the Azure cost management, add resource tagging for accessibility feature cost tracking to reduce cost on features not being utilized. If you look at this on a more bigger scale, you would see that from the starting of this session, I mentioned that 1.3 billion plus users today globally are living with disabilities, and most of them cannot access AI systems being built. A lot of deaf and blind people I know cannot even access the ChatGPT software, which is a big concern in the market. Whether OpenAI is making billions on building AI models that actually perform smartly, including excluding 1.3 billion people, is going to drastically reduce the substantial income that will be generated for such companies. And now, if we're looking at the legal side of things, is if you're trying to implement a legal protection framework, it's going to reduce the ADA litigation risks when these persons with disabilities are often found as exclusive from the design of the system being released through production. And the innovation premium is that inclusive features often benefit all users, which is the best part of it. If you are building a system for persons with disabilities, let's say someone who is visually impaired, for example, and one of the major feature is the audio description or text description of things they can't see. Let's say I'm a visually impaired user and I can't see an image. If you build a system that can describe that image, some users who aren't even visually impaired might see that feature as a very excellent feature and may want to utilize it, which is the very best part of it. Building for disability, persons with disabilities often benefits all users using your system because most of them might even find interest in the features you've already brought in for persons with disabilities. And it's also going to increase the brand value of whatever tool you are building because persons with disabilities are often underrepresented, and corporate social responsibility impact is where that impact is going to be brought in. And for the cost-effective implementation, you could start with high-impact features and go down to low-cost features, which, for example, is alt text, which is very easily implementable for persons who are visually impaired and can't really see images. You can implement alt text as a starting. And you could also leverage pre-trained models before then custom training them based off the specific user group's preference. And implement progressive enhancements to make sure that the advanced features being brought in later on are able to adapt to the system overall stability and performance while implementing various usage analytics to prioritize feature development along the roadmap. The next step is clear. If you feel like there is a bigger need for you to actually build system that truly includes sees and listings, this is a 30-day implementation roadmap that could actually get you on the go. Where week one, you start with accessibility assessment and foundation. You try and set up your Azure AI Foundry, identifying the various user groups you want to cater to, and then establish a baseline performance metrics for you to weigh in your system performance. For the week two, you could implement a technical implementation pipeline that integrate the various Azure AI services and then create a unified system for these persons' disabilities to utilize that system. And if you want to go further in week three, you could implement advanced features for building multimodal user interfaces that can adapt through adaptive intelligence to the various user groups, and implement context-aware personalization, a system that truly understands the current situation of the user and is able to respond and perform based off that user preference. Also try and integrate your AI system with already existing technologies, assistive technologies, and make sure that the model you are deploying has bias detection enabled and monitoring enabled to make sure that the data that is being fed into the training model is free of bias. And for week four, you could follow through an iterative process of testing, improving, and optimizing conduct accessibility compliance testing to make sure that your system is compliant to accessibility policies and for user groups within the persons with disability space. And also make sure that these users you intend to build the systems with are included in the user acceptance testing phase and is able to work across diverse communities. Resources are already available. I'm majorly emphasizing on the fact that the Azure AI Foundry resource is a unified platform that has all these various services enabled within it for you to use for building your system. It has various documentation and quick start um, components for you to begin with. And there are also various accessibility testing tools and guidelines that you can also add alongside your policy evaluation pipeline to make sure that the system you're building aligns with already world existing standards. The call to action here is that if you are building an AI that works for everyone, you have to start with you. You already have the tools, like I've been emphasizing, there are already tools available. Azure AI services for speech, Azure AI services for vision, Azure AI services for language. If you are building within the Azure AI ecosystem, and they're also proving design partners for inclusive systems. The WCAG Act already works as the policy for you to act alongside your guideline metric for evaluating your system to make sure that it's accessibility inclined and it's inclusive for persons with disabilities. You have the knowledge how to implement multimodal architectures. There are resources available online for bias detection and mitigation, patterns for assistive technology integration, and methods for measuring inclusive AI success. And the opportunity is there. Whether you are building specifically for persons with disabilities, you already have the market because according to the World Health Organization, 1.3 billion people are actually waiting for accessible AI because they can't utilize it. In the community, in the persons with disability communities I often interact with, many deaf and blind people cannot use ChatGPT because it's not accessible for them, which is often very bad and is going to drastically reduce the market's return of investment. If ChatGPT even implemented such a solution, you would see that the market opportunity is very, very large. Imagine building a system that could cater to 1.3 billion and pricing it at $2 per month. You know how much you'll be making, which is a great return of investment. So the thing here is that no matter how you are training your model or building the next big AI system or AI agent that actually can actually solve a real problem, try as much as possible to put accessibility and inclusion in mind to make sure that that system can adapt to various disability problems across persons with disabilities and is always inclusive first by design. And if you start today, you build tomorrow, you are going to include everyone by default. So the question here is not whether you can build inclusive AI or not. The question is, what will you build first? What are you going to build first? Are you going to build a system that is accessible for by persons with disabilities, or a system that simply just solves a problem? All AI systems solve a problem, but majority of them are not accessible, inclusive first or accessible first by design. So thank you very much for listening to this session. And I do hope you got a lot from this session in building AI that works for everyone. And the most powerful technology out there is technology that actually empowers others, technology that gives other people the feeling of belonging and give other people mediums for them to interact with these technologies through various accessibility models. And if I have any questions you could ask, and always remember that every line of code you write has the power to include a person or exclude them. And I'll advise to always choose inclusion at each stage of your model development. And with this, we're going to actually build a system and a future that is always more accessible and inclusive. Thank you.
Thank you, Rafiu. Sorry. So, thank you for this amazing session, especially bringing the concern of human-centric and how it can be utilized for everyone. So, thank you so much. I saw like there are two questions for you. One is like, how can we prevent bias when training human-centered AI system? I think you already discussed about this during the session, but still you can just say something about the question.
You say what?
Yeah. So let me repeat the question
Okay,
again.
thank you.
How can we prevent bias when training the human-centered AI?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. So first, we'll start with how does bias actually originate in human-centered AI or building AI systems, and the fact often starts from the data you've collected to train these AI systems. So now the fact is that most bias in this data reflects only certain groups. That's bias by definition. For example, let's say you have gathered data from Muslim men, or you've gathered data from mostly white people, or mostly from the global north or the global south, or in Africa. That's already biased by default. And the solution here is that if you are building human-centered AI, you should make sure that you use data set that can represent different genders, races, disabilities, languages, regions, or cultural background as much as possible. If, for example, you've gathered data and you've seen based off the training you've already started that a particular class or a particular data group um, is more than the other, is often overrepresented than the other, within machine learning and training model, there are various techniques for you to implement or generate synthetic data by creating an overlap. So, for example, let's say I have a data set that have to do with detecting if someone is male or female, and my data set have values that men are often overrepresented than the females. I could implement a smoothing technique that looks at the data set and try as much as possible to follow a pattern to create synthetic data for the underrepresented group. And another thing to take note of is that bias can also originate from mislabeling. That's why systems or AI organizations often utilize labeling your data is also another critical part of data training. If biased labels lead to biased labels can actually lead to biased AI detections. Let's say a data that is meant for female person is labeled as male, that's already bias detection. So train labelers, you could train AI systems within the AI pipeline called labelers that are able to identify various diverse backgrounds and audit the labels regularly. And this is going to avoid assumptions. For example, is an angry face equals to a male, or is poor English equals to uneducated? So if you're able to train labelers that are going to be embedded within the pipeline, you'll be able to remove this model bias in human-centered AI. And you could also implement a human in the loop system where uh, let's say, for example, AI, we already know that AI systems hallucinate, or AI system can be context unaware. You can implement a solution where diverse users, let's say during testing or when communicating with people with disabilities, they allow you to interact with real people who are going to flag that, okay, at this particular time, at this particular stage, this AI system is not fair or is biased. And the AI system can take this through its feedback loop to either retrain the model or correct the pattern it's using to generate data. There are various other methods for you to utilize, but to save time, these are some of the key ways for you to reduce bias in human-centered AI.
Yeah, perfect. I think you perfectly answer this how we can prevent the bias, and yes, that concerns are valid as well. So one of the audience has requested it. Is it possible to share the PPT with them?
Yeah, I think I'll share it with you, Ridwan. So
Uh-huh.
possibly you could share it
Yes,
after.
so I can post in a group, and then from their audience or the attendees who is, I mean, it might be helpful for other as well.
Okay.
All right. Uh, Thank you once again, Rafiu, and thank you so much for this wonderful topic. coming with the human-centered AI. I mean, that's the best thing we can do. Like the AI is not only for the person who is fit of our take or like for a
Yeah,
specific. It should be for everyone.
yeah.
Thank you so much for bringing this concern and also giving us the highlights on this one. Now,
Thank you.
without taking much time, also I'd like to invite Mr. Frank. Hi, Mr. Frank. Are you here?
Yeah, how you doing, Ryan?
Yeah, thank you
Thank-
for joining the event and thank you so much for your session. So I'd like to just highlight, yeah. So let me introduce Mr. Frank Falvey. He's MVP in M365 Copilot with 20 plus years of experience in tech, and he's also passionate about technology like Microsoft Azure, machine learning, IoT, and AI. So his topic is Microsoft Agentic AI framework overview and live agent demos. So Frank, over to you, and you can share your presentation, and we can start it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
I'll just start the slideshow there. Um,
yeah,
Welcome everybody to this great session. Um, you see my screen there?
yeah. We can see the screen.
Yeah. So the topic today is Microsoft Agentic AI framework, and I have a good few slides, so I'm not going to really make it complicated. It might sound as though it is, but the best part will be the Microsoft Copilot chat and Copilot Studio. I'll be doing a live demo on each one of those, and you'll see how actually easy Microsoft has made all this stuff when we're talking about AI. So just a little bit about me there. I'm a Microsoft MVP in the M365 Copilot, um, and I'm also an MCT, Microsoft Certified Trainer, M365 Copilot Specialist. I also host a weekly show called the Azure and AI Show, where we have lots of different guests from all over the world come and share their thoughts with us. I am also one of the founders of Journey to the Cloud. That's a monthly show, and we have a lot of guests from all over the world in that one as well. And you can see some of the certifications there I picked up along the way. And AI Fundamentals, Azure Administrator, and Solutions Architect. So we'll move ahead. This is one slide I just put up there because there seemed to be a lot of kind of confusion, about Gen AI and traditional AI. So, people are kind of confused, like, what is Gen AI? And then there's AI. So, like, Gen AI is like ChatGPT, where you can give a prompt and you can get it to write a document or an article, or you can get it to make images or even videos. So that's Gen AI. And I kind of tend to kind of say, like, look at the Gen part, it's generating stuff for you, So whereas the traditional AI, it's like, a chatbot, it's just put together and it just does the same things all the time. And this one, I suppose in today's terms, you hear a lot about autonomous vehicles, So like it's a kind of full AI, So I have a slide on the autonomous vehicle coming up, and that will kind of explain a bit more. Whereas the Gen AI, you can kind of put whatever text you put in or wherever, everything is changing. So will you just move on to the next one? This is the one I'm talking about, agentic AI in driverless cars. So like there's problems like, as you can see, navigating through complex traffic situations autonomously. It's there. You can't just like drive along the road and expect, can I ask a question of a human, like what color is that light up there? Can't. It's autonomous, no changes. That's it. The AI just has to react in an instant to real time. So solutions offered, right? Utilizing real-time decision making algorithms, defective, obviously like, traffic lights, is it red, is it blue, is it orange or whatever. So some of the benefits then like improve safety and efficiency in transportation, so if you're driving along the road and somebody walks out in front of you and you're not quick enough, um, the AI would probably hit the brakes for you and stop the car, that sort of benefits and whatever. So there's another, you can see the approach there. It's constantly collecting real-time data from various sensors on the vehicle. Um, so, if something happens, they can look back over it afterwards and try and figure out what they can do, like analyzing the data and understanding different traffic patterns. Decisions, making informed driving decisions based on analysis. Execution, driving maneuvers, and real-time traffic. So, it puts it all together. And that's one real kind of an example of an agentic AI. Because a lot of people are kind of saying like agentic AI, and then there's AI agents and whatever. So I'll kind of explain a bit more about this as we go forward. So this is a basic how an AI agent works, and there's a couple of different types of them. There's an agent in the chat, and there's an agent in the Copilot Studio, and then you have the agentic one, the autonomous one that will work without any human intervention. So as you can see on the screen there, the user puts in the prompt. It goes down to the model, like you hear kind of models like LLMs, large language models. So it'll pick the appropriate model that what it wants to target, and then it uses different tools like APIs, databases, websites, company data, loads of stuff there. So that's a basic kind of how an agent actually works. So some of the stuff in the framework then underneath the hood, I'm not going to make this really complicated now. It's only just basic stuff about it, right? We've got the semantic kernel, right? This is an open source project, right? Microsoft uses this one. Um, it's built intelligent AI agents and multi-agents, so you can have loads of agents controlled by one agent in a system. With this enterprise-ready orchestration framework, right? The semantic kernel is a model agnostic SDK, software development kit that empowers developers to build, orchestrate, and deploy AI agents and multi-agents, whether you're building a simple chatbot or complex multi-agent workflow, the semantic kernel provides the tools you need with enterprise-grade reliability and flexibility. So you can see all the different interfaces that you can use to integrate with semantic kernel. You can use Bing or whatever browser you prefer, ChatGPT. You can use the Microsoft 365 Copilot. You can use a range of all different plugins that you have in your own organizations, and then the semantic kernel will work with your app then. So as I said, that's an open source one. That's One other thing with this one, it's got built-in kind of memory. So like we say if you were using one of the apps that was using the semantic kernel, and you kind of asked it what's the weather like in London tomorrow, we'd say. And next it comes back to you and it gives you the weather in we'd say Fahrenheit, and because you're in the UK, um, they use Celsius. So what you could say back to the app, can you give me the weather in Celsius instead of Fahrenheit? Okay. So you close down the app and come back to it the next day, and you go in and you can ask it, what's the weather in London tomorrow? And next, all of a sudden, you get the weather and the temperature comes back in Celsius. So it actually remembers what you asked it before. So that's kind of some example of the semantic kernel. So just moving on to the next one is AutoGen. This is another open source project as well. And this is used for either uh, is part of the framework for creating multi-agent AI applications that can act autonomously or work alongside humans. So you can see there on the left, right, just a single agent, and then over on the right-hand side, you've got multi-agents, different agents talking to other different agents. Um, It could be a joint chat, or you can have a kind of hierarchical structure, whereas it could be a customer service kind of division where you have all different departments, and it might come into it'd be like if you phoned up some organization and you get on the phone and they might ask you, do you want to get onto apartment A, B, or C, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, press 3, or stay on the line, or whatever. So that's the kind of hierarchical chat sort of process that you can have there. So just moving on, options for agent development, right? So we just looked at the two there, the semantic kernel and AutoGen. So there's other ones there, like in the Azure AI agents. You've got OpenAI Assistant APIs, um, Microsoft 365 Agent software development kits, Copilot Studio. So that's a kind of low code development environment for building and deploying agents. So we're actually going to look at this one. We're going to, towards the end there for the demo, I'm going to actually go into the Copilot Studio and I'm going to deploy an agent. We're going to create an agent and we're going to deploy it and we're going to ask it some questions and stuff like that. So the agent builder then as well, we're going to use this one here. That's the Microsoft Copilot chat. So we're going to use that to make a simple agent, and they're after making it so easy. If you go into this, and I'll show you how to do it, you'll be able to make your own agent in 5 minutes after me showing you what to do. And we'll just move on to the next one. So most of this is I want to kind of show you the demo part of this thing, which is more exciting, and it's every day I come back to it. There's something new. They're working on it all the time. It's so exciting. And so just the autonomous agent, how it works, right? Um, I'll show you the kind of triggers, right? So it kind of works on a kind of circle going around, and it keeps going around until you know um so the first one on the left there, right? integrated AI reasoning, right? It uses AI to enhance decision-making capabilities. Um, so the triggers, this one there on the top right, um, so it's like somebody sending an email from HR to the IT department to onboard somebody and joining the company. So that triggers another automated process then, right, to execute a task without a human intervention. So that could be the IT department are after getting an email as well. And what it actually does, it has the employee's details. So the IT department has an automated process that it puts the person's name in, it gives them an email address, and it signs them up for all the other onboarding stuff like training and all this type of stuff. So that's all automated in the IT department. And when their process then is finished, it kind of emails out to the employee all the kind of stuff. Here's your email address, change your password, here's all the training you have to do. And all this is done without any human intervention because it's an autonomous agent at work. So the other thing there as well, right? A lot of people you might hear these days is guardrails. Okay, so like this is kind of how to keep control of the AI that it doesn't go outside the scope of your operation. So um, it adheres to guidelines to ensure safe operation. So it's not the AI is not out of control. It just does what it's meant to do, and that's it. Um, so if there is something kind of gets stuck in the process that maybe um, it can't move on to the next stage, it kind of flags a particular thing to seek assistance from a human, right, when needed. So the basis of all these autonomous agents at work is to have less human intervention and have them work as a flow without any interruptions. So that's kind of an example there of kind of a HR autonomous agent at work. So then we move on to the spectrum of agents, right? So the first one there, right, is a retrieval one, right? That's like our could be just like the Copilot chat there, right? That our Copilot on Bing, you can just go in and you can just use it to kind of get data, summarize stuff, ask questions, and that's the kind of simple one. So we're going to do a demo on that one towards the end, and that's Copilot chat agent we'll be using there, and we'll be asking it some questions about the agent that we've set up. And the next one then is a bit more complicated, right? That's a task-based one. So like what I was talking about there, it kind of automates workflows and it kind of replaces repetitive tasks like the HR one there now, setting up new people on the IT system where you can actually make it automated, where it sends emails to the IT department, sets up the person in Entra, um, and sends them out the email with all their details and their all their sort of stuff they need for the onboarding, like what courses do they need to do before they go on site and so forth. And then the next one then is the more agentic one is the autonomous one. Um, that operates and orchestrates other agents like uh, the one I showed you there earlier, AutoGen, where other agents can talk to other agents inside the kind of So if can't answer one, it'll pick out the next one inside other agent um, is in line to answer that particular question. So that's kind of the spectrum of agents, and they kind of start from, as you can see there, from on the left, from the simple agent up to the more advanced, which is the autonomous one. And okay, so this is kind of one example of where Wells Fargo is leveraging Copilot Studio to equip bankers with chat-like search agents to help them more quickly find stuff, procedural documents to assist customers to find stuff. So, like, as you go onto a website and you type in a particular search, you're going to get loads and loads of pages up uh, that you have to sift through. You can see there on the left-hand side, right? Instead of 10 minutes now, they can actually do a search in 30 seconds instead of 10 minutes. So you can imagine if they have 4,000, 4.1 thousand branches, right, in America, and they have 1,000 documents to navigate through. Like this is this retrieval kind of agent, right? And it's really kind of cutting down on the amount of work a real person has to do. So it's not actually taking away their job or anything like that. It's just assisting them in being more productive. So 30 seconds rather than 10 minutes, it's a no-brainer, really. So here, this is kind of 4,100 branches. The graph kind of shows where um, they're up to 75% searches through the retrieval agent compared to where they were before. So it's a game changer really for the likes of companies like Wells Fargo, where they can use a retrieval agent rather than manually searching through all these documents. Okay, moving on. Okay, so we can see there on the left-hand side, every employee has a co-pilot, works as your personal assistant, grounded in work content like emails, meetings, documents, and it uses a user interface for the AI. And then the agents then, kind of complement that, like every business process will have an agent AI-powered systems with actions, triggers, and knowledge. And it'll work on behalf of employees, teams, and functions connected to Copilot, or it can be autonomous, like the autonomous car or the HR agent. And then there's the agent again, this is more of the same kind of saying, it's kind of triggering, right? So the agents you build, right, are tailored on your unique business process. Like I'm using the HR one as the business process where you can automate a lot of repetitive tasks. And so the agents built by Microsoft, right? There's ones you can just get off the site, the shelf, employee self-service, you have SharePoint agents, and you've got Dynamic 365 agents as well. And loads of third-party stuff, Adobe, ServiceNow, SAP, and there's lots more. When I say lots more, there's thousands, tens of thousands of them. So just moving along, these are kind of Copilot agents with Copilot Studio. So like the finance one, I done that there with the Wells Fargo one. You can use them for marketing to help speed up all the stuff in your marketing. Legal, you can get it to for sifting through documents, or and then the HR one there, customer service, sales. A lot of self-explanatory. I was using the HR one for my kind of, and the finance one for my explaining some of the agents. So this is Copilot Studio. It's generally available. This is what it looks like. No code agent builders, right? It connect the Copilot to, you can have all different ways you can connect data to it. You can just use solely just use your company data. Um, you can just switch it off from the internet, have no outside interaction whatsoever, and it's not very complicated, as I will show you when we come to the demo. Um, okay, so the Microsoft Copilot Studio, that's what it looks like here. Um, as you see, there's not a lot of tabs. It doesn't look very complicated. Um, so you can build your own agents, like I'm going to do in the demo, right? You can create and publish a custom agent for your organization using the intuitive building experience enhanced with large language models and generative AI. So you can use your own LLMs, or you can use Microsoft or some other third-party one, whatever you want. Um, Customize the Copilot. Um, as I say, first-party agents with your own enterprise scenario. Um, you can have all these connected platforms, um, all different AI technology stacks integrated with Azure AI Studio, Azure Cognitive Services, Azure Bot Framework, Power Platform, AI models, and many more. You'll see as I go along some of the stuff. Governance and controls, that's kind of like the guardrails we're talking about again, right? You can put in features to monitor the uses of fully visibility of customization, standalone agents as well. You can use, who's actually building them and customizing them. Like you can have different teams set up for different agents. So a lot of exciting stuff going ahead. Towards the end of this as well, I'm going to share some stuff with you that Microsoft has put loads of stuff together, like PowerPoint presentations, the Word documents, um, how to build agents, different scenarios, um, exciting stuff. So I'll probably share that in a link to that in the chat. It's just some amazing stuff, and you'll see towards the end of this session. How to get started, right? So there's all different kind of pinpoint the main business process, right? So is you don't be using resources, right? So find out the main business process that you want to address and real needs before you start going in spinning up stuff and using company resources and stuff, right? And demonstrate the value of the project through prototypes, early successes, um, iterate and learn, right? There's like the stuff I'm going to show you there is kind of stuff you get your company to look at first before you start doing any of these. Um, so when you build the agents, go back and look at them and make changes, based on different interactions, so don't just build them like a chatbot and just leave them and don't go back and make any changes. And so these are kind of scenarios here, business to employee, technical troubleshooting, coordinate inventory. I won't read the whole lot, but just there is an example. Business to customer, business to business. So they're kind of some of the stuff. And here's the kind of one I normally might actually have to come back to um, at the Q&A session part of it, um, because it's the licensing and the different models and the costs and all this. Um, they're all different licensing, as you can see. Um, if people want to get these slides as well, because there's a lot to see here on this particular slide. And if somebody wanted to use the Copilot Studio, you can see there for the cost of, you can either pay 165 per month for 25,000 messages, or you can just, that's the kind of consumption model, but you can have up to 4 SharePoint sites on that, and you can have up to 4 public websites. So as you can see down the end, I'm just kind of focused on the Copilot Studio on this one here now. So it's not suited to core AI platforms, right? It's intended for small focus Copilots. Like the example I used there, onboarding and Copilot and expense Copilot, etc. So we'll just move on, and if we have questions, we'll come back to this one again later. So getting started, as I said, the website, aka.microsoft, I'll share the slides. I'm not going to go down through all of these. They're just some of the stuff that they have out there. You can try Copilot Studio as well. Microsoft gives a 3 months trial, so take that up, definitely. So now I'm just going to switch to the demo, and we're going to start off with this one here, right? This is my M365. So as you can see, right, is M365 Copilot, and this is the one that Microsoft gave me for my MVP. So some of the benefits that you get from MVP. So some of the agents that they've built here already, an analyst one and researcher. And what we're going to do today is these are some of the ones I've already made here, some of my other agents. So we're going to go down here and we're actually going to create an agent. Okay, so what we're going to do is, you see, it's got 2 tabs there, describe and configure. So what we're going to do down here is we're going to type, and we're going to make a simple one. We're going to say, I'm going to make a garden agent. Okay, so I just put in garden agent and I'm going to hit enter, and we'll see what the Copilot will come back to us with. Okay, you can see on the right-hand side, it started to build an agent already. So see plants, soil advice, watering tips. Okay, so it says down here, right, it's giving me a sentence. It says, let's determine the name of your gardening agent. How about Garden Guru? Please confirm or suggest another name. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with this one, right? Garden Guru. And I'm going to put it into where the prompt is. Okay, go with Garden Guru. Okay, and I'm just going to hit enter, and Copilot then is taking my answer. And it says, great, let's refine the instructions for your garden guru, right? So it says, first, what tasks or goals should garden guru help users with, right? For example, providing with garden tips, plant care advice, or garden design, right? So we're going to take what it gave us, right? Um, so we're going to say provide gardening tips, plant care, um, advice. Okay, I'm just going to copy that out, paste it into the prompt, and give it back to the Copilot. So this helps the Copilot then build up the agent. Okay, so it's actually giving you the prompts and everything, helping you along the way. So now it came back to me and it says, would you like to add any publicly accessible websites as knowledge sources for your gardening guru? This step is optional. Okay, so I'm just going to say, okay, use the web. Okay, so we hit enter, give it back to the Copilot. So it's just asking me, do you have any more modifications to make? I'm just going to say no. Simple as that. So we're just making a nice, simple demo. And okay, you now can try the Garden Guru in a separate chat dialogue, right? Feel free to continue exploring. Okay, so we're just going to go up now to the tab above here, configure. We're just going to click on the configure. And now it's giving us an option here, right? We can change this. Right, they have a template if you wanted to change, if you want to change the details, right? So we have our name, Garden Guru, and we have the description here, and we can change any of this if we want now, okay? So then it goes down here to the instructions, right? So it's giving us all these instructions, provide gardening tips and plant care advice, ensure responses are accurate and helpful. Okay, so you get the gist of it. So then down here, right, you can actually upload stuff to this. This is the knowledge where you can either put in a website in here, you can upload different documents or books, or you can get it from the cloud, whatever you like. So for this one, we're just not going to put any, um, we're not going to upload anything because we don't need to for this particular one. Um, so you can see down here, these are all the actual suggested prompts. You got the bin here, you can delete any of these. You can drag and drop them into different areas, or you can actually put in your own ones, okay? So we're just going to leave them as it is because this is only just a short demo. So I'm just up in the top right hand corner and I'm just going to hit on the create. And it's just going to create the agent. It's very quick, depending on the speed of your internet. So it should only take a couple of seconds. So if you have a website and you want to share this with, it gives you back here and you can copy this out, or we're just going to go to the agent, okay? So here we have, this is our Garden Gurus, totally finished. It's giving us some of the prompts up the top here, okay? So I'm just going to write down here, um, how do I look after roses? Okay, simple. Okay, so basic rose care tips, okay? It's telling us about sunlight, watering, feeding, pruning, mulching, pest control. This all looks pretty good. Um, so that's a basic um, agent using the chat, Copilot chat. Okay, so for the next demo, right, I'm just going to open up. This is a Copilot Studio. You can see some of the agents below here I've already created, and you can see the tabs over on the left-hand side. It gives you some of them up here already that are pre-made, and down the end here as well, they've kind of got different ones that are pre-made for travel agents, financial insights, benefits, civil stuff. And it goes on, there's loads of them, and all the resources, workshops, everything, all the documentation underneath there. So we're just coming back up here, right? Describe your agent you want to create, okay? So what we want to do is we want to make a HR agent, okay? And they already have these pre-built as well. So it says, hello, I'm here to help you build an agent so you can get more done. You can say something to provide the best practice for project management or help teammates on board projects. Okay, so it's given us here, right? Great. Now let's determine the name of your HR agent. So it's already suggesting, right? Um, HR support bot. Okay, so we'll just copy that one and we'll go down here and we'll paste it in here. HR support bot. He's probably after giving me this name now because I already made a HR agent and it's just giving me a different name. So we'll just go with that. Okay, so it says now let's refine the instructions for your HR support bot. First, let's determine, for example, it could assist with onboarding, answer common HR questions. Okay, so we'll copy that out and we say yes, could assist with onboarding and common HR questions to make it nice and simple for this demo. And right, so I put in there, it could assist with onboarding, answer common HR questions. So we'll just leave it at that to make it nice and simple. And this particular one over at Copilot Studio, this is a task-based one from our spectrum of AI, right? So now it's come up with, let's determine if there's any knowledge sources you would like um, to add to the HR bot. This step is optional. Um, would you like any um, to add? And I'm just going to say yes, because I have some documents I want to upload. Okay, so I'm just going to tell it, yes, I want to add some documents, okay? Okay, so let's come back. Would you like to add any publicly um, accessible website as knowledge? And we're just going to say no, we don't want to. HR people don't want outside websites getting involved in their business. So, okay, do you want more modifications to make this agent? So I'm just going to go up and up in the top right hand side, skip to configure. And now it gives us here, look, the name of the bot. This agent is to assist you onboarding and answer common HR questions, okay, which we gave it earlier. So down here then, right, so the instructions assist with onboarding, answer common HR questions. Okay, that's all what we gave it earlier. And so here I want to add knowledge to it, okay? So if we go here and I want to upload some files, um, Not sure why it's not giving me that feature. Okay, add knowledge sources, this source. Okay, basic agents. So what I'm going to do over here, I'm just going to create this agent, hit on the create button. And once you have these created, you can actually add stuff to them afterwards, and you can remove stuff. So these are not just. Okay, so I'm just going to try and add my. You can see I told it no web search earlier, so this is disabled. So I'm going to click on here and add knowledge, okay? So now it's allowing me to upload a file, okay? So I'm going to select browse, and I have these files that are kind of, they're just made up HR files. Um, Add it to the agent. So these are kind of typical kind of HR kind of files that, companies would have, like, and there's that one added. So we're going to go for the second one, HR policies and procedures, add to agent. So there's the second one. We just go for the third one, and then we'll finish up with that. Performance and management guidelines, and add to agent. So the only thing we have in here now is the files that we uploaded, and we disable the internet. So now we're going to publish up here on the right-hand side. We're going to publish. We could test our agent, but because of the time, we're just going to publish it. And I want to leave some time for questions and answers as well. So your agent is being published, and this is pretty quick as well. So you can see your agent is published. Okay, so up in the top here, then there's different like the overview. We're on the overview, and then you got the knowledge. The knowledge is the articles we put in, the different tools, like you can create your own first tools, you can add stuff in there. Agents, you can add agents in there if you wanted to have a couple of agents. These are other stuff that you can customize as well, saying different greetings, start over, thank you, activity. There's no activity, we just have to building this agent, and there's no analytics in here because we didn't do anything yet. And that's it, straightforward. So over here, right, so there is our agent, so we can test the agent. Okay, so it says published. Just give it 2 seconds, and then we'll ask it some question and see what it comes back with. Okay, so published. So we're just going to test it here. I hit the test, then it gives us up the prompt box. So we'll just ask it, what is the code of conduct? Okay, simple. What is the code of conduct for a company? Okay, and we'll just hit the enter. And hopefully you should look through those documents that I uploaded earlier. And here we go. It's reviewing the 3 documents. and it's coming back with Contoso's code of conduct, right? It's giving us saying respect, treat all colleagues, clients, and respect, integrity, maintain honesty, transparency. Yeah, this is all kind of good stuff. And if we go down here, it's telling us the resources. So these, they got it from the documents I uploaded earlier. So that's the demo. So any questions and answers on that?
Thank you for the wonderful session with hands-on, and I truly enjoyed this one. Even earlier, I was also using this Copilot Studio and build some agent for some clients. I think over the year it has become more powerful. So, but let me give you some questions coming from audience. So here is one question like if Copilot Studio can only create an agent, then either rely on the web search or knowledge source without possibility to enable both sources. If not, how to enable?
You can actually you can have both of them. You can have each of them complement each other. You can turn on you could go to, we say here, like see on the chat in the guru, we can we can change we can actually change whether um whether you want the internet or do you want both. Sorry there now. This one maybe is probably the best one. So the knowledge here, um, tools, activity agents, topic, overview. So if I go down here where it says disabled, I can just, so it'll use these documents here, right, which are the company documents, and I can also enable this here, and it'll use the internet as well. And that could be just the company's intranet, internal internet, rather than the internet outside. Hope that explains that.
Yeah, perfectly. I think that pretty clear. Like we have both options. We can even allow web search or knowledge base. Even we can connect with different other sources as well.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm just
So
going to put in the chat there as well the that website I actually have opened here, which is full of Microsoft Copilot Studio stuff, where
mm,
people can download loads of stuff, webinars, agent kits. If you're a business user, creator, IT leadership. So I just have to put in that into the chat if people want to go here. Some great stuff. Download a full ebook, and you can even go here, view full agent hub, which is here. And if you're either Azure AI Foundry, Copilot Studio, or you just want to use M365 Copilot, it's giving you loads of stuff here. Loads of
yeah,
stuff to download. Yeah,
that's great. I mean, it's full of resources and rich content are there. I think that's a very good content. I mean, if we want to build either using Copilot Studio or AI Foundry, we have enough content here, and based on the roles also, like which roles we belong to. Yeah, thank you for
exactly.
sharing this.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
find this, I go to these websites fairly often to get a lot of material. Um, like the deck I was using there earlier, um, some of the slides I got from this, so which is very good.
yeah, this is very good. I mean, I'm also going to check this. So I think even Copilot Studio has huge capability to even build autonomous agent. Even it can do a lot of stuff. Like I remember when we deployed this, we use it for like some automation as well. Like the agent was in website, somebody want, they can get the information about the company, and they can even get some procedures document. And if they have any concern, they can just raise a ticket from there itself and get the status of their ticket based on the ID from agent itself. It was able to communicate with the end users as well as give the questions to their support team so that they can go and work on it and provide the solution.
Very good.
Yeah. So I think Copilot Studio is very powerful agent, and of course, it has its own built-in lots of component. And best thing about this is like we don't need to know any coding. I mean, this is just kind of no code drag and drop build our agent. Likewise, great. It's a very good tool for building AI agent or like co-pilots or even like chatbot, so on.
Very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very exciting times ahead with all
Yes,
this
yes.
stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for giving the detailed insights with hands-on. I'm sure like many attendees will go and they should definitely try this tool.
Yes, yes. So thank you very much for having me today. It was a great session. Thanks for everyone for setting it all up. A lot of work went into it.
Yeah,
Getting all these people from all over the world to attend your um, session of AI agents. Um,
yeah.
thank you.
Thank you so much for your wonderful session. I believe like many attendees will be loving this session. So actually now I want to talk more, but we have a time limit, and also we are already behind the schedule. So I'll quickly move to our new speaker. He's Marshall, and let me take his topic. Okay, so he's let me just open this one. Yeah. So, Marshall Lupo, he's also a Microsoft MVP in dual category, DevTech and Azure with multiple accolades. And his passion is mostly monitoring and contribution towards the technical communities. He has been a cloud solution and DevOps architect, mostly focusing on delivering like scalable, efficient, and cutting edge solutions. So today we will be diving into AI assisted development, one of my favorite tool since I am from development background. I'm using this GitHub Copilot usually, especially for this agent mode. I mean, this is completely insane for the developers. Now I like I'm mostly from I know the technologies from Microsoft stuff now, but with this Copilot Studio, I don't have limitation of developing from for one programming language. Like recently, I developed one application using Go language, which is new for me. But with the agent, it was very helpful for me. Also, ChatGPT helped me a lot. So, coming days, the developers only need to have their skill set, architecture knowledge, and standard practices, so on. They need to know like but the repeated things like writing code, writing particular functions, bit of pieces can be easily done by AI, especially GitHub Copilot. So I'm excited for this session, especially this MCP, which is getting really popular these days. So over to you, Marshall. uh, Maybe you can share
Hi
your
there.
screen and start the session. Hi.
Hi there.
Nice to see you.
Hi. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me. And thanks, Frank, for the previous chat. It was pretty interesting, pretty cool stuff. Um, I will just turn my camera off just for my internet connection. But thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming today. Thanks for joining and the introduction as well. I'm Marcel Lupo, DevTech MVP. very much in the development space with VS Code, GitHub, GitHub Copilot, and I'm going to show you some pretty interesting and cool stuff today. So just let me know when you can if you can see my screen, if you can hear me okay. Let me just quickly jump to
We
my...
can hear you well, and we can see your screen as well.
Okay, perfect. So this is just, I'm just going to quickly show you my GitHub. This is my GitHub page. It's PWD 9000-ML. And if you wanted to connect with me, or you can find all my details here in my blog, X account, my repositories, and a little bit more information about me. Yeah, if you want to get in touch. So, so I'm going to talk about MCPs today, especially the GitHub MCP server. And I don't know if any of you, how many of you are developers or use VS Code, but MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. And this is where a lot of things are heading in terms of creating or making platforms agentic to be able to plug into systems and actually understand the system that the LLM is talking to, or the agent, or having agents and access to certain tools and things like that. So I'm also going to talk about, I'm sure you've heard of something called vibe coding, where you completely start from scratch when you start coding and using different tools and different code generation. But I'm going to show you today something quite cool that's more about context, because without context, you can get a little bit lost. And I'll go a little bit more into that, what I mean by context in AI context engineering, which is kind of an interesting thing that's happening now as well in this space, and as well in agent space. So I will look today at a repository that I've got called, what we're going to do is we're going to work with a repository called, just open here, Terraform, oops, sorry, I've got my wrong keyboard, just one moment. Hey, work with infrastructure as code repository today. Basically a Terraform deployment repository. So for example, I have, and this can be with any application, basically. It could be application that you're writing, it could be, it could be anything. It doesn't have to be infrastructure as code, but the concepts are the same. So you've also got, you've got a README document to explain how to use this repository. You maybe have a changelog file. For infrastructure as code, I've got written here like a foundation resources, and what my foundation resources will build in Azure. It's like a resource group, managed identity, maybe log analytics workspace, basic things for me to get started with. Maybe it's a landing zone. And then I've got a storage account module for different environments. I've got et cetera, maybe an application, ACR for storing container images. So I'm basically building up infrastructure here with this repository, and maybe this infrastructure is for a certain architecture or a platform that needs to run something. But say, for example, I need now something extra, like maybe I need a key vault, or you'll see that I've got all my files and folders on a certain structure. So I've got, I've got my variables, my main, my foundation, my different variables for this structure, and then I've got the same structure for storage accounts. Maybe I've got the same structure for et cetera. Now, I'm just going to open VS Code here for a moment and go, if I want to add the MCP server for GitHub, what can I do with that MCP server? So if I use GitHub Copilot chat, I can ask it things about my code, and I can improve my code, and so on and so forth. So, for example, in my Foundation Terraform file, I can ask it to generate me code for creating something, but I still have to commit that code. I still have to create a pull request for that code. Maybe there's a ticket in my GitHub repository. So if I just jump to the GitHub repository here, you'll see at the moment I've got no issues. I've got no open tickets here. I have no pull requests. I can see the code. But what if I want to interact with this repository directly from the IDE from here? And this is where the MCP server for GitHub becomes very, very handy. And I'm going to show you a way you can configure this. There's basically two ways that you can configure this. In your settings.json file, under the option, or actually, if you go to settings, and you just type in your settings file here, MCP chat, and we can go here. Where do we want to create our MCP servers? You see as MCP server sampling and MCP is enabled, so editing it into JSON. I can basically create my MCP servers, if I can find them. My goodness, where did I? Oh no, sorry, it's mcp.json. I'm just quickly going. That's the incorrect file here. So you can basically add your MCPs in a couple of different ways. And MCP servers you can add through either running them locally on your computer, so you download them as npx packages, and you run them. I'll show that as well. You can use Node or Python, and it's a normal standard input-output to the server. So it's just a process that's running on the computer, or a server package, or a Docker file. Or you can use MCPs that now are remote through HTTP, and I'm going to show you how to set up both of them. So basically, if you open up Copilot chat over here, you'll see at the bottom here you've got different options like ask, edit, and agent. If you put your thing on agent mode, you'll see a little tool configuration box here. See new tools available. I can restart my, I can discover for tools. So, for example, if I've got, it says here, the MCP server definition, remote GitHub MCP wants to authenticate to GitHub. And this is because I've already got remote GitHub MCP server configured on my machine. And I just need to authenticate. So I'm just going to allow that for a moment. It's going to ask me to authenticate. I'll show you where to set this up. And I am going to just open that. And now I'm authenticated. Now to set this up, if you click on the tools button here that says configure tools, you'll see at the bottom, at the top here. You'll see at the top here, you have something called built-in, and you see here I've got an MCP server called GitHub MCP with Node. I can turn that off, and these are all the things that I can do. I can create branches. I can, these are all API calls that I can make directly to my GitHub account. This is the MCP server for Microsoft Docs, MCP server for Azure. What can you do? You can ask questions about Azure. Now, this is the remote MCP server for GitHub. I'm just going to turn all of them off here real quick. Been playing around with them, quite a few of them. Now, if you want to add an additional server, you need to open your mcp.json file. And the mcp.json file is under your roaming profile, under code user. MCP JSON, it's in a similar place to where your settings for JSON is on the same place where your VS Code is installed. But the MCP JSON file starts with basically a server's JSON and inputs. Inputs are things if you need to parse through, like a security key or maybe a token or something like that, and you don't want to do that in code. But you can see here that I have added a couple of servers, and we're going to look today at the ones that are called GitHub MCP with Node or remote GitHub MCP. And you can see that these are, stopped. Some of them are running. If you run the GitHub MCP server locally, it uses a normal standard input-output connection. You need your access token as well to connect to your GitHub. This one is currently the token that's not active anymore. But you'll need your GitHub token, and this is where you can use inputs and secrets as well. You will then connect to, if you go to GitHub's, if we go to this repository, for example, we take a look here. You'll go to GitHub. This is where you would come and, for example, download the MCP server, and there are quite a lot. There are so many. There's ones for AWS, there's GitHub. This is the GitHub one here. And you would download basically either a Docker file. Sorry, it's not that one. Let me just quickly go in here. Let's see. Maybe it is that one. Okay, official MCP server for GitHub. And you can see here that you can either add it via remote connection, or you can download the various different formats or files that it comes in, which would be, if I can find that here quickly, it gives you as well what arguments you can run or you should run. But I just want to see where is the local versions. Yeah, so the local versions, you can either run a Docker image, you could run a Node agent if you've got Node installed. I'm using Node on my machine, so let me just quickly jump back to here. The only problem is if you download your MCP server and run it locally, you'll see here there's only 26 tools. So it means, it's quite limited because it's an old version. So if I wanted a newer version, I need to go and download the latest npx package to keep my tools updated. So, and then I can start this MCP server. I'm not going to use this one. Basically, I'm going to stop that one because it doesn't have all the tools I want to use. But if we look at the remote MCP server, you'll see here it uses the URL that connects, and it's using HTTP. And I don't need to pass through my PAT token or anything. I authenticated when I was refreshing my tools here at the bottom. It just authenticated me into my GitHub repository, and you can configure what sort of access it can have over your repository when you enable that process. Now, I'm going to start this remote MCP server, and then I'm just going to quickly open up the toolbox again. And now you will see that my MCP server with Node turned on for some reason. Now you'll see here I've got my MCP server for GitHub running. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to say okay to that. I'm going to turn off some of these. extensions. Just bear with me one moment. You can also kind of look at these tools and say which ones do you want to use, like on, because you might not want to use all of them. You might go, I don't want anything to do with tags or workflows. Maybe I don't want to use dependable alerts or getting discussions. So you could do like quite a, you can turn some of these off, on and off. Let me just quickly see that I'm going to take all of these ones off and delete, download, fork. Maybe I want to use that. So you might spend a little bit of time on this. But what I can do now with that enabled and running, if I go back to my project, I can go into for example, let's go into one of my files here, foundation resources. And then I can type something in here. I can select my model, of course, which one I want to use. I'm going to go with Claude Sonnet 4, and I'm just going to say, can you check for me if there are any other projects on GitHub that are, I don't know, module than well, and then I can give it my context as well. I can say, you know, I want to know my foundation resources. I give it that context, or it will use the current file. And if I run that, what it will now actually go and do is it will look at my code and kind of understand my code. Sorry, I can only use 128 tools at a time. So let me just quickly reduce that amount a little bit more. I'm going to turn this one off. Some of them seem to have turned on. Okay, let's try that again. And so what it should now do is go look for similar module files on GitHub, because it's got access to GitHub, and it will look at all the public repositories out there. So you can see here what command it runs. It runs that remote GitHub MCP server, and it will go, it will give me an output here, and where it's find it, it'll go and search basically all the repositories online in github.com. And then it goes and get some more specific examples by examining the most relevant repositories that it's found. Show you let's see what the output comes from there. Okay, so it says it's found some similar repositories out there on the internet. Gives me the repository online. I can see that's from Microsoft. Actually, it's one of theirs. It's given me a few here actually. So yeah, most similar projects. So Phantom Company, TF Azure Core. Wow, okay. So I can then actually go, let's go and have a look at this one out of that, but let's go and check it out. Just to make sure. Open that a new tab. Okay. Oh yeah, and I can see there's a resource group here. Cool. So I know that exists. So what I can do now next is I can say, I'm not going to take that one. Let's take the one from Microsoft, for example. So it says here that the Microsoft TRE, which is Trusted Research Environment, is an accelerator for building trusted research environments in Azure, contains the resource groups, key vault, and user resources. And what's the use case? Okay, I want to try this repository. So what I can do then is I can say, on the repositories that you found, use the, sorry, not that one, to use this one. I'm just going to copy that. Use that repository and compare the code. You know if I have any features and enhance my code that is used on the remote repository. For any features that I might, it will now it should now basically go and compare my code base, or specifically this file, with the code base from the remote repository that I've given it. So I'm not actually coming out of my IDE or anything like this. Is all happening inside of the IDE, and it's checking GitHub and it's interacting with GitHub, and that's what the GitHub MCP server is all about. And we'll see what it comes back with in just a moment. So it's basically going and getting the contents of the files. It takes a little bit of time to run. Downloaded a file there, downloaded the main file, downloaded the AKS port identity, managed identity, main. Basically just parsing through the files on the remote repository. Okay, so then based on the analysis, your current code strengths all that, but you're missing security enhancements. It might be a critical security enhancement with private networking, telling me to add private networking to my key vault, add service connections. So it's giving me, RBAC role assignments are missing, advanced naming conventions I can use, resource extensions, validation, enhanced outputs. So what I can do now, because I don't want to do it right now, is I can say, thanks for recommendations to create these as my repository that I can look at them and tackle them one by one, and also so that they are logged. So what it's going to do now actually is it's going to go and create. So if you use Azure DevOps, this would be similar to creating work items or user stories or tasks. What it should be doing now in my GitHub repository is it should go and, so it's going to say, do you want to create a new issue in, oops, you want to create a new issue? Yes. I'll ask you if you wanted to create new issues for these items that we found that we want to enhance our code with. I want to create another one for that. And if we go back to my GitHub repository now and refresh the page, let's see if there's another one. It's only created 2 so far. I think it was about what, 5 different ones. No, 7 different ones. I won't let it create all of them. So I'm just going to stop it here, just for the time's sake. So if we refresh our page here now, we can see here that there are 2 new issues. And you can see here that it's got high priority enhanced key vault security settings for production enhancement, high priority and security event tags, which is pretty cool. So I go in here, I can see there's an open ticket. The current state is code protection should be true for production. Soft delete keys should be, for production should be 7 days. Proposed enhancement, what I could do to remediate that problem. Required variables, if I need some new variables to be created. Which files do I need to update, what the priority is. And now I can start working on this issue. Or I can maybe, if I have a team, I can maybe assign this to a team member. I can maybe have a look at one of the other tickets instead, or things like that, right? So I can see here that private endpoint should be added for key vaults, for example. What's the current state? It gives you a proposed enhancement, things like that. I can then, I could do pretty much anything with these MCP servers. They're very, very powerful tools. And like I said, you can kind of enable ones that you want, enable ones that you don't want. You can do, there are so many. You can create branches, you can create, like I just showed you how to create issues, for example. You can do, you can get pull requests, you can look at commits, all sorts of cool stuff like that. And I've actually not done any work yet on my code. I've just let the LLM kind of analyze my code and compare it with some code on GitHub. Similar code, maybe to see where I can enhance my code, or maybe I've got something missing. Maybe I've got some security issue somewhere. Pretty cool stuff. So that covers MCPs. I wanted to cover context engineering also, because I think it's important. So in GitHub, when you have this new concept called instructions. So for example, under the GitHub folder, you can create a file called copilot-instructions. And you can enable this by going to your settings. And if we just put you can you can enable this to say use instruction files, and it'll tell you where you can put that and where you can go to learn more about it. But an instructions file is basically, so this project of mine means I am creating infrastructure as code, and I'm doing it in a modular way. But these are instructions that I want to give to the Copilot about this repository. So maybe I have guiding, maybe I have Terraform coding standards, code structures and organization. Always use a consistent directory structure, create dedicated modules that are reusable, keep resources definitions separate by files. For example, my networking components, I want in a network TF file, storage components, I want a storage TF file, compute, rather than one big massive main TF file. So I can kind of give it instructions like how should it work? I want my naming convention to look like this. I want to use for each instead of count where I can. I want to, and it's just giving your LLM as much instructions and best practices of the code of your repository, so that when it starts recommending you things, that it will do it in that way. And that's kind of, and you can also, you can point it, like I say, to, apply my general guidelines coding, which is another MD file, which is in here, which has got my general coding practices. But then I can add more stuff on it, like always prioritize security best practices, favor idempotent selections, or use British English spelling, for example, maybe when updating documentation, or US English if you're in the US, or whatever sort of kind of alphabet you use. Use naming conventions, use Terraform formatting, like run a Terraform format before doing, a commit or, things like that to make sure that the code is always formatted nicely. And that's basically how instructions work. So if I was to ask it, what is my naming convention for resources in this project, and I can just give it the context as my code base, which is, I think it's just hashtag code base. See what it comes back with. It should use the instruction files for this. Slower. I think instructions are very, very amazing feature that's coming. You can also see here where you wanted to apply to. Like I just wanted to apply to the whole project, the instructions for my project. And you can see here that my naming pattern or my naming conventions look like that. And then I can say, for example, then I can maybe put something like that. Please summarize this naming convention for me in the README file, in my README, because maybe it's not there and it can do that, and so on and so forth. But I won't do that now. I want to jump to another topic called prompts. Now, say, for example, you are writing your code here in, I don't know, foundation resources. You will write it a prompt like, you check if there are any security issues in my file, and I can again give that context of that file and run it. But I want to show you something better that you can do. So there's this concept called prompt files that's come out. If you, under your GitHub folder, create a folder called prompts, you can then create different, I want to almost call it personas or context. Maybe you have, when you make changes to your code, you need to update the README file or the documentation or the wiki. So this is a prompt you will probably use a lot. You will always ask the same thing, potentially. So what you can do is you can now create these prompt files. So you can say, you give the prompt file a name called update README, and you can actually tell it what mode you want it to use, from your agent, ask, or edit mode. I want it to be edit mode. And you can also tell it which tools you want to use. So for example, remember when I told you about these tools that you can use, like the MCP servers? I want to be able to use my code base and maybe fetch stuff from web page or URL. I want to use those two tools. And my description is just update documentation with any new changes. That's all I want. But then you can give it a persona. You can say you are a I don't know, for example, a technical documentation specialist, writing documentation in Markdown. You give it like a kind of like I want to say a persona, and it's complaining here about something. Okay, not a biggie, not a big problem. And then you can give it some requirements. Look at the last 10 commits in my repository to do, because I want to make, when I make changes to my repository, I wanted to add it like a change log. So I was going to say, look at the last 10 commits in the repository and to identify the changes that has been made, and then use the existing README structure, and I'll give it a path to the README to keep that same structure. Ensure that a new section is consistent with the current style and formatting. Update the README file with new changes at the beginning of the file with the latest section header with a date and a header. Include a brief summary of the changes and use Markdown lint to make sure that it's properly formatted. So you kind of give it all these instructions. Now, how do I access this prompt? So for example, if in my prompt window here at the bottom, instead of typing all of that, I will just type /, and I can invoke the prompt by using the name of the file. So it was update. Oops, so I'm just going to say update readme.md, and that's it. I'm just going to press enter. It's now going to read this file that I've created, like this persona, you could say, and it's going to go and look at the last 10 commits that I've done in my repository, or maybe you could do the whatever the last pull request description was, or there's many ways that you can do this, or just updating. So it's just going to go and look what's changed. And we can see that if it starts updating the README file here, okay, so maybe it's not doing anything here because I've not actually made any changes. Let me just commit that. Let's set up quickly now. Okay. I'll run that now. My VS Codes. Okay, so let's try a different one, but this should basically update the README file here. Maybe let me try something a bit different. So for example, I wanted a key vault. So I've got my foundation with its file structure. I've got my storage accounts with its file structure. You see, I've got the files, I've got a README. Say, for example, I want to create a new resource like a key vault, for example, or what was missing from my. I think it. I can give it another prompt like generate Terraform module structure. If I take this file name, and what is this going to do if I run this prompt? So it's going to use my GitHub repo and my code base. It'll generate a new module structure in the for me. So the goal is to generate a Terraform module structure, Azure resources based on a template for my. Yeah, you can point it to other websites on GitHub as well. You create these files, etc., etc. So if I run this prompt, which is generate Terraform module structure .md. MD. It should. Oh, actually, hang on. I'm going to stop that because I didn't give it any. I'm just going to say generate module structure to create a new key vault course. It's going to basically use that prompt file, that persona, to help me try and create another folder to create a key vault. And you can see here, I deleted number 6, so it's just gone to number 7 now, but it's going, you see, it's going now and creating my folder here for key vault. And if I open that, it takes a little bit of, takes a couple of seconds to run. And you can give it, if you've got a design pattern documentation, you can point it to that. Like, for example, if you've got patterns, and there you go. So it's gone and created my main file. It's actually gone and created the resources for me. It's even used the same headings like how I do in the other modules. It's using the same naming convention that I have in my instructions. It's kind of using all the instructions that I've given it from my instructions files, to use certain my general coding standards to basically tell it how to work. It's create my variables here for me. So it's got the resource group variables, keyboard variables. So it's still creating all the resources here. Let's give it just a moment. Takes a little bit of time to create all the files. But basically, it will follow the same structure that I've got mine. It should start creating configs for dev, prod, UAT. I've got mine. It should create a README file. Just let it run in like a minute or so. I'm just aware of the time. I'll just jump to the next one quickly. So for example, this prompt file is asking about code quality and security. So for example, I'm going to use mode ask, and I'm going to say use all the tools that I want to use. Maybe I've got tfsec, check for Terraform code security issues by running tfsec, check for code base issues using tflint. If you've got any tooling installed on your machine or IDE to use those tools, suggest any issues in the code. It's almost like a security code review, you could say, a prompt for that. And you see there's my README file. It's gone and created. I'm just going to stop that there because it just takes a little bit of time to create, but you get the idea. So let's say I want to do a security code review on my foundation. Or maybe I created a new module and I want to do a code security review. I can then go / code a module. And then again, I can give it that context and say files and folders. And I want just my foundation folder. Let's run that. And remember, I just used ask. I didn't use edit or agent mode. So it should just give me some recommendations here. So, it says I'll perform a comprehensive Terraform security and code review on your code base using tfsec and tflint to analyze the results. Do I want to continue? Yes. And for this, you can see I'm now actually using external tooling because I have tfsec installed on this machine and tflint and the extensions enabled on my VS Code. I can kind of almost call them through the it interprets the tooling. So it says actually the tfsec was not found. Maybe I don't have tfsec on this machine. I think I might because I'm working on a different machine actually, so I might not have it. Okay, so it's going to install TFSec. It's going to ask me if I want to install it. I'm going to say no to that because I will just install it really quickly through. I don't want to install TFSec there. Let me just quickly see. I can install it real quick here. Oh, it's already installed. Okay. Let me just see. I don't know if I've got it enabled. It's definitely there. And it doesn't pick it up further. Let's give it a little bit more. Let's see. What's it this time? You can actually see here in the terminal that it's trying to run these tools. Pretty impressive. It's found two potential problems. Is you already see from here that page protection is not enabled, which is the same as what the MCP server told us when we compared it to other code. So I just on the partial command, and that was one issue, and the other issue. The other issue here. ACLs doesn't block access by default, so that's an issue. But then what I can do once it's run through this is I can say you create issues in GitHub. Critical with recommendations. Just let this quickly run through. And then because I've got all the tools enabled that I want with regards to my GitHub repository, I should be able to then now basically just log that right away into my GitHub repo. I'm just aware that, about the time, and I think this is basically we're approaching the end of the demo here, and I'd like to just leave a little bit of time for any questions if there are any, because this basically will conclude the demo once this is finished. Has anyone got any questions so far about this? You can see I've got quite a few issues coming up here. Medium risk, high risk, and it's getting all these details basically from that TF6 scan that I've done. Everything else looks okay. I was going to say log those issues for me in my repository. And now it's going to use, again, the GitHub MCP server that I showed very earlier in this demo, how it's going to log those issues for me in my repo without me having to go and do that manually. We'll see that in a moment. So to create an issue here, we go to our repository. You see here now I've got a critical security issue. Keyboard post protection is disabled. And you can see it's labeled it for me. Have a look here. You can see critical security vulnerability. It's created all the things I wanted it to do. It's even given me like checkboxes of stuff that it was expecting to see, and stuff that's missing. Too short, critical risk. Still, I have to fix those two things. Let's see what the other issue is that it found. If it's still creating it, I think it will ask me to create it. That was just the one. Okay, and I mean that concludes the demo. Basically, we went through MCPs, context engineering with instruction files, and also using prompt files to basically do stuff that might be repetitive and with a little bit more context behind it. Are there any questions about this? Everyone's on mute. Which one? Well, I guess if there's no further questions, I can stop sharing the screen. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much for your time. I guess if there's any questions, I can put my
Um, Hi, Marshall.
hi there.
Hi. Thank you so much for this. Actually, this session is really deep dive. The one
Yeah.
who is going to follow, they will learn a lot of hands-on. Thank you for this wonderful and deep dive session. I don't think any questions are there, and also like you'll will you be able to share the repository that you demonstrated?
Yes.
Yeah, so
The,
that will be
the,
great because I saw one of the attendees has requested for the repository. So that will be away. And apart from this, I all good so far. And um, I don't see any other questions so far. So once again, thank you so much for this wonderful session with hands-on. I mean, the one. We will have a recording also later, so anyone can go and follow this hands-on again step by step. It will be really helpful for them. Thank you so much. And a lots of learning. Even in the middle, I was trying to follow, but I lost some of the content. I was having chat with some other attendees. So, but the session is really good. I'm still going to watch this recording again for my
No
learning.
worries, no
Yeah,
problem.
yeah.
I've put some links in the chat here as well to show where you can get the GitHub MCP server. I've also put a link in the chat here with the repository that I just demoed, and
Mhm.
also a link to GitHub's documentation on how you can set up these instruction files and prompt files. So for anyone who wants to go and check those out, they are in the chat here, the links.
Thank you for sharing the content. I will also share this in a group so that attendees later can go and check this one.
Oh, awesome.
Okay, so thank you once again. Any final thoughts?
I mean, no, everything, it's all good from my end. I hope you enjoyed the session, and yeah, happy coding. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
same. Happy
definitely
coding
a good
always.
space.
Same. Always happy.
Cool.
Happy coding.
Yeah, yes, yeah, exactly. Well, thank you very much, and thanks for the opportunity. And yeah, come connect with me on LinkedIn, and we can continue the discussions more if anyone has any questions.
Mm, all right. So even if someone has any question, they can reach to Marshall through GitHub account or LinkedIn, or somehow they can reach. And in case if they have any questions, maybe I can later communicate with you also. So with that, I would like to move to now my next our next session with Sujin. Hi, Sujin. Are you available? Are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. I can share my screen.
Yeah, thank you. You can share your screen. So let me bring
All
Sujin's
right.
screen. Yeah.
All
So
right. Oh,
welcome, Shujin. Shujin is also one of our Microsoft MVP expert, and his topic is Rise of AI Agents, building the intelligent workflow with Copilot Studio. Definitely worth using Copilot Studio for building AI agents. It's really handy and low code. I mean, no code as well. Like just drag and drop, and we can build our agent. So over to you, Sujin. Thank you, and thank you once again. And again, I want to appreciate you since we are already late, and thanks for your availability.
no worries. Thanks a lot for having me today here. And thanks to everyone. Today, like he said, I'll be talking about the Copilot Studio, and I'll be building the agents. And Frank already explained a little bit about the Copilot Studio and how does it work. And also, I'll go a little maybe like kind of basic stuff today. Before I start exploring all these things, let me introduce myself. I'm Sujin Nalarat. I'm from India, and I'm a Microsoft Graph MVP. Also, I'm a corporate trainer. I do deliver the training on MS Intune, little coding, and MS Graph, and many things. And I'm a tech blogger as well. I work on the DevOps stuff as well. All right, and it's all about me. I request everyone who is listening me to send me a connection request over the LinkedIn, and that's the great thing about all this kind of the community event, so we can get connected each other, and we can talk each other, and we can share the contents, and we can share the learnings together, and we can grow together. So that's what I enjoy with all these kind of events always. So yeah, let's connect over the LinkedIn as well. All right. So, before I get started about the Copilot or any other topic, so maybe this is how I generally used to start any topics before like I go into deeper of the topics. I believe it's always better to know about the history of the topics which we gonna learn, or maybe which we gonna talk today. Many of the people, or many of folks are believing that AI something is new for us. Actually, it's not. Since 1950 onwards, AI is there. Lots of like an evolution happened in the AI. In 1950 is the birth of AI happened, and there was something called Turing test, and like there are many things happened in 1980s. The machine learning was invented, and what we see here something called generative AI or Gen AI, and the Copilot, and like many other things are happening in 20s. Right, so latest one, which is obviously the generative AI, happened in 2020s, and like LLM and many things, we are just still doing it and we're still learning. So what I was trying to say here, by putting this chart in front of you, AI is not something new for us. So like probably we have started using the AIs like recently, but it's been there more than maybe around 75 years. So yep, that's all about this slide. And if I go to the next slide, so we already talked about the Copilot Studio. What is Copilot Studio? Uh, like we know, Copilot Studio is a low-code graphical platform from the Microsoft for building and managing the AI powerful agent and the workflows. This is how the Copilot Studio agent will looks like, and you can create your own agent and you can customize it later. And it's a part of Power Platform. When I say the Power Platform, so you probably are working on many Power tools like Power BI or Power Apps or Power Automate or anything. It could be, you can name it. So it's just part of a Power Platform tool, and it combines with the natural language in the automation. So obviously it's doing the automation, and it's generating the automation, maybe creating a response or maybe giving the output in the natural language. There's an advantage of the Copilot agent. So we used to create the agent or maybe chatbots or maybe another kind of automation using the Power Automation as well, but we never had the option to create a natural language or maybe generate a natural language. That's what the Copilot does. It enables users to create a custom Copilot. As you all know, you could just ask the questions, you could get the answers, and you could integrate to the many business system, and that will definitely make your business better and better and better, no doubt at all. And you can deploy this the agent that we created using the Copilot Studio to any stuff like any channel like Microsoft Teams, or maybe the SharePoint, or maybe a personal website. You can create your own apps. You can deploy it to social platforms like a Facebook or anything, you name it, and you can just make it available to the public in any platform. So that's a great thing with the multi-channel deployment feature. And moreover, like we said, you are not writing any single line code here. That's a great thing. So most of other people are not developers, and they are like literally not coding anything, but still they could create their own channels, or maybe their own the agents, and they can deploy it to any channels. Like I said here, it could be Teams or SharePoint, anything. And you can do the data integration. You can connect it to like different data sources, right? It can be anything. It can be like a graph or SharePoint, or like could be APIs, could be any public website or anything, and the agent will be powerful to get the data from that data source, and will analyze the data and will answers for you. So if you are new to the Copilot Studio, you must understand the ecosystem of the Copilot Studio. That's something great here. And as you could see, there are many things like topics and triggers and actions, channels, security, governance, and data source, many things. Right. If I go a little deeper, the topics and triggers are the one where you manage your input. Okay. So in the topics, you define how agent can understand the response the user input. So user will ask something, and if you're not trained your agent to answer that question, answer that keyword, or answer that response, the agent will not be able to respond to your question. So you have to literally train your agent defining the topics, and the trigger will initiate the conversation in the workflow, and the action will be able to do the maybe perform the actions as name states. It could be sending an email, it could be like sending a message, it could be like updating a record, it could be anything that you generally wanted to do with the Copilot Studio. That can be done using the actions. And the channels, like I said already, you can deploy your agents to multiple channels like Microsoft Teams, website, social platforms, social maybe a social media application. So and you can create your own website and put it on that website. So that all would work with the Copilot Studio. And the data studio we already discussed, sorry, the data source we already discussed. And the data source, we give the data that would generate the generative response that will help your business. The security and governance, you are making your Copilot Studio secure, and this is the admin center for managing the agent. So well, obviously, when you put this for the public and when you put this for the many users, you need to make sure that your Copilot Studio is secure always. All right. So what is an agent? So we already discussed about the agent. Frank had little, given idea about the agent. So I'm not much explaining about the agent, but what I would say, it could be non-technical term, but agent is also an automation. So it's a modern way of automation, I would say. And but here in the Copilot Studio, you're creating a generative agent response, or maybe generative response with the automation. So you're doing a like in a generative response plus automation, and that's what you call it as an agent. So it's a modern word of automations. That's what I would say. And you can deploy the agent what you create, like I said, to multiple channels. And like I said, it's a in agent in Copilot Studio is an AI powered digital assistant that can understand the natural language. So the language what you generally talk, it can understand, and it can automate your day-to-day tasks. Obviously, you are doing something automation here, nothing else, and interact with the users across the multiple channels that would work with the agent. So basically, like I said, it's just an automation. It's another way of automating your business. That's it. All right. So it's autonomous, and it's like in a scalable, and you can deploy the agent what you create to a multiple channel with no efforts. And like we discussed and like we highlighted multiple times, it is low code, it's no code, right? So you don't need to write any single line of code if you're someone who is trying to build your own agent in the Copilot Studio. That's a great thing what Microsoft has developed so far. And you can just we discussed, we can just drag and drop your stuff, and you can make your own Copilot Studio, maybe an a agent or chatbot. Right. So before we going further into the Copilot Studio live session, so maybe the lab session or demo session, I wish I could, explain more about here the things here, what I can do with my Copilot Studio, or maybe the agent what I create. I can categorize this thing to three part, maybe a business to customer, or maybe B2C, or maybe B2B or B2E. So what does that mean? So when you create a chatbot, that it's helping real-time customers, or maybe for example, you're building some Copilot chatbot that would do some work like an Amazon chatbot or something, that you would go and purchase something from online, you can track your orders or something. That's kind of a business to customer agent, or maybe a chatbot. And there's something called business to business that you would create to for a vendor management Copilot, like assist partners submitting invoice, or maybe seeking compliance, right? So there are many things that you could do with that. So that's what that the chatbot which you create for your business, that we generally call it as a business to business chatbot, or maybe business to business agent, and business to employee. So if you have a chatbot in your on premises, or maybe an organization which will help you to do your job, or maybe like IT help desk, or maybe any HR stuff or anything, that we generally call it as a business to employee chatbot, or maybe an agent. So basically, I could just categorize the chatbots or maybe agents into three parts, or maybe three ways of business to customer, or maybe business to business, or maybe business to employees. All right. So that's all about the theory, but I believe let's see in action. So I'm not taking much time. We are already running late. So this is my Copilot Studio. I have already built up many chatbots so far. So I'll show you one chatbot which I have created. Basically, there's no generative AI response. Probably this could be the better one for you to start if you're someone literally new to the chatbot and the AI stuff. I'll come here in the topics, and I'll show you the board which I have created. You see, I have defined the triggers here, and I have literally said what all the stuff my chatbot could recognize and respond. So this chatbot will tell you how many vacations I left, maybe what's my leave policy stuff, and how many vacations I can take per year. And so technically it will tell you the leave policy. Okay, so here I have a question. What I'm asking, it's basically a workflow. This workflow, the very first thing, it is triggering the questions and triggering the response, and then it's asking the questions what level you are. So technically thinking, probably this question doesn't really make any sense, because in the organization, generally in the organization, the manager and employees will not have a different, maybe a leave policy though. But still, I'm just creating a hypothetical situation here. What level are you? I'm just giving two options. One is manager and the employee, and like I'm storing that option into a var here and as choice, and I'm just checking the condition here. If the condition is equal to manager, and go ahead and ask two, one question again: what function you work for, and infrastructure development and finance. And if it is a finance, so go and ask again, maybe sorry, if it is in infrastructure, go and ask which country you are in. So if it's in India, I have a condition here, and if it matches to India, right, so I'll say that you have 3 weeks of vacation, as per Indian policy. And if you're from United States, I'll say that you have, say, hold on, you will have a 4 weeks of vacation in US. So, and if you have selected any country other than India and US, maybe UK or anything, it will say that it's a not valid country. Only in India and the United States, states are the valid country, and it will go back to ask you the question again and again and again. If in case if you selected employee, right? So where is that infrastructure? Okay, here's the thing. So if it's manager, and if you select the employee, and it will say that directly, it will say that you will get 21 days of vacation. So let me test this, and it won't take much time. Maybe let me restart. I'll say, hey, and it'll say that, namaste, how may I help you? I'll say PTO, right? I'm not putting anything, and now it will start executing it. And it started asking me that what level are you, and I'll say manager. Okay, and when I put manager, it'll it'll give me the next question: what function do you work? I'll say infrastructure. When I'm in the infrastructure, it's again asking that what country you are in, and I'll say that India, right? Maybe I'll say UK, right? So the UK, it's a wrong country. It says that not, it's a not valid country, and only India and United States are the valid country. What country you are in? Again, it's asking. I'll say, now it's time. I'll say India. Okay, and it says that as an infrastructure manager, you will get 3 weeks of vacation per year. And I'll go for a a test again. Now I'll say PTO. Let's say the PTO. I'll say employee. It's not putting any more questions. It's directly saying that I'll get 21 days of vacation. So what's happening here? There's no generative response. It's just like, you have hard coded everything without writing any single code. In the vacation days, I have literally added everything in the workflow, and it's just checking the conditions and conditions and conditions. And when the condition is matching, it will go for a certain certain stuff. And if the condition is not matching, it will go to the next stuff, and it will continue asking the same thing, and until the condition is matching. And when the condition is matching, it will give you a response, and the flow of that workflow, maybe flow of that agent, will just stop. That's all about this the boat. And basically, and you can just, like I said, you can deploy this boat to many channels. Like, you can create a demo website, and you can deploy it to MS Teams or SharePoint, whatever which we already discussed. And you can just manage your settings here, and maybe the authentication, security stuff, everything here. And if you go to the security, there's something called authentication. And if you're really concerned about the authentication, you must select the second option here, which you can authenticate with the Enra ID and other things. And if you're someone who is really not caring about the authentication, you could just go ahead and select the first one. Okay, and let me show you one other board which I have created recently, which is called Yatra board. And this board will get you the information about the tourist places in India. So you see here, there's something called knowledge. So I have added a knowledge base here, and this is a government official website which is called incredibleindia.gov.in. This website will have all the details about the tourist spots in India. So if you're someone who would like to explore India, and this would be the right website, you must visit and get the details. So now I have literally automated that. You no need to go ahead and check each part in maybe in this website. So what I will do, I will just keep asking the question in this like a sorry, the chatbot. So I have some maybe a say some cheat questions here. I'll just copy paste that since I don't have time. So what I'm asking here, how do I book train ticket using the IRCTC app from the outside of India? So if you're someone who is living outside of India, so you just wanted to know how to book a train ticket in India, so it'll just guide you how to book the train ticket from India or maybe outside India, right? So like it'll just it's getting the details here, create so and so account, and like in a verification login, search for the trains and select the trains and passenger details, do the payment, and so and so. So but this bot will not be able to book the ticket because I didn't add any tools that would make the API calls and book the ticket. If you're someone who would like to make this bot more better and making it like capable to book the ticket, you can come here in the tools and you can just add the tools like APIs or anything that can connect to many other APIs and website and do your booking. And also I'll ask what is the best time to hold on best time to visit Delhi, okay, which is India's capital. So I'll just ask that and I'll see what response I would get it here. So here it is, listing all the details about the Delhi, and it says that October to March is the right time to visit Delhi, and during this period, weather is pleasant, so and so, and all the details, and like what are the festivals that you could explore in if you are in Delhi, and the events and all other things, and what are the key attractions to visit in Delhi, right? So what are the markets and what are the plans, so and so, and you could just see that. And if you just look at other things like maybe I'll ask what are the maybe let me copy from my cheat list again. So it's a state in India which is called Himachal Pradesh, where you can enjoy the mountains. So I'm asking here where I can find eco-friendly homestays in Himachal Pradesh. These all are the something which you probably look for. It will get you the all details like visit so and so Manali, Dharamshala, and so details and reviews and all. So this how you can just literally go ahead and add a knowledge base here. It can be anything, and you can just go ahead and get the things done or maybe ask questions in the board and you can publish it. So always as soon as you're done with your development, you can just publish it, and the publishing stuff will take me 1 or 2 minutes, and you can just come here in the channels and say here you can make it as a demo website. So like it will say that the authentication is blocking me to make it as a public. So what I'll do, I'll just come here in the settings and quickly I'll go to security, and you see I probably would have selected the authentication as authenticated with Microsoft. I'll change it to no authenticate, so it's giving me a warning, so I'm fine with that warning. And saving changes, it will take a while, let that take its own time, and I'll go back to my Yatra boat. So I'll go to the channels again, and I'll create a demo website. So it could be a public stuff, so I'll save it, and I'll just copy this website, and maybe I'll show you how does the public website will looks like. So here, see, so I'm loading a public website, and if you're someone who would like to use it in a public website, so I'm getting the details here. So yeah, something like it may take a while because you see I just changed the authentication stuff, so it's still replicating probably. Let's see how long it will take. Still not. Something unexpected. That's weird. It's all about the timing. It's all about the matter of replicating, but it's fine. Let that replicate. So I probably can show you some other board that I have created with different purpose. So I just created a study board, so which will help me to get you the details about particular certain course about say the some commerce related course. So what I'll do, I'll just go to the channels and I'll go to demo website, and I'll just open this stuff, and I'll come back here and I'll just open it. So I'm getting the details here. So this is how your bot will looks like, and here you can ask the questions. Let me see this working or not. Okay, I'll do one thing. I'll just come back here and I'll go to the boards again. I'll go to the Yatra board and I'll go to channels. demo website. I'll copy it again. Come back here. Let's see whether this work or not. So it's not working. It's all about the like its timing is still replicating. It should work, and it may take a while to replicate the changes what I made here, which you probably would have noticed in the settings, and I changed the authentication method. So what basically this error is stating that uh, when I made this boat as a public in the public website, it's not able to communicate. So that error making more sense because the changes what I made here in the authentication from Microsoft Entra, maybe authenticate with a Microsoft to no authentication, it's still literally replicating. So yeah, that will take a while. Let me try it again for the last time. Still not. Okay, it's fine. I'll leave it here, and yeah, that's all about the agents here. And I have created lots of agents, and that would help you to, like I said, make your business better and better. And if you go to the Yatra bot again, like I said, you can add your tools here. So for example, if I go to ads, or maybe if you want to put a message to a MS Team, so maybe send an of like email, right? So if you wanted to do something else, you can just come here. And for example, if I go to Microsoft Teams, like you will get more options like what you would like to do with the teams. Say, I wanna create a chat. I wanna get the message. I wanna create a channel. I want to get the list of teams, whatever. You can just come here and you can do your authentication stuff, and you can create a teams message, or maybe create a chat, or maybe post something in certain teams channel. That should work. And respond something to maybe a message that you would get it in a certain teams channel. That would work. So these all are the things that you could try it in your business, or maybe in your environment. I will just leave it like this, and there are lots of other options. And when you go to the topics, you could just add the topics as per your wish. Say for example, here there are default topics that you could see start over, right? So if I just go to the system, so I could see the conversation start. So the conversation start is like a dynamic stuff here, and you could see here I'm like Yatra board so and so. Instead of hello, I'll say namaste, right? So if I say namaste, all right, and I'll say save it. I'll just come here out of this, and like so it's not taking. Okay, I'll save it, and now you see it's hello, I'm Yatra board so and so. And once it's saved, I'll just go for a test again. Now you see it's changed, and now it's starting the conversation based on the conversation start criteria, what or maybe conversation message what you put here. And you can literally change any system defined topics, and you can create your own topics as well. So you see start over, thank you, and many things. And if you want to create your own topic, and I just say that from blank I want to create a topic, and you can define your trigger here. And like say like we discussed, you can just drag and drop things here, send a message. So if you want to send a message so and so, and that message is equal to so and so, you can just put a certain conditions. So add conditions. So if the message is equal to so and so, and maybe put another conditions again here. So this is the best way to create your own chatbot. It's basically defining the workflows, and but the workflows should be able to generate AI, or maybe a generative AI response. So that's what you're technically doing here. And I believe that's all about for today, all the session. And since we are running late, I'm not dragging this session into other topics.
Thank you so much, Sujin. Even with the time you have demonstrated so perfectly, starting from topics and all stuffs, I think you give, holistical approach of how to use Copilot Studio with real, hands-on demonstration, starting from the HR one, we can apply our leave applications, and
Right.
then also we can surf and get the information about particular website as a knowledge base, right?
Yep,
That's
yep,
really
yep.
great. Yeah. So
uh,
yeah, I
yes.
think it's already late in your side also,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
especially audience also. So this happens normally, like that's why I try several times. So what happened, like the first session will take 5 minutes or 10 minutes extra, then cumulative second will take some time, and then this all get collected, and at last the delay will become too much.
Yeah, it
So
happens.
we tried several times this one to minimize, but somehow it's because all our speakers or even anyone comes with some of their expertise and they want to demonstrate something, so which we cannot ask them to cut or just stop because of time, because I want them to complete their session, and also if they have a complete sessions, it will be useful for attendees as well. So
Right.
yeah, and Sujin, I would like to collaborate with you again in for our upcoming sessions as well.
Sure,
Please
sure,
be
buddy.
connected with us, and I
Sure.
really enjoyed your session truly. And
Thanks a
another
lot.
thing is best is like I got some history knowledge, like it started from like 50s, right?
Right.
Yeah. So thanks for sharing that historical information as well.
Yeah, before we wrap up, I see one question. Is it possible, quick demo show how to enable the interaction between different agents in Copilot Studio? As you could
Mm-hmm.
see my screen, I can add a different agent if you have any agent that you already built it, right? So you can just, go ahead and go to the Copilot Studio, any agent that you already built it, and you can just add that agent as a probably nesting agent or something you call it as. I don't know technically what it called, but still you can just add those agent as a child agent, and that would collaborate and that would work. All right, that's all about
Okay.
it. Yep.
I mean, this is also interesting topic. Like, let's say we have already one agent and we want to build something, but there is some part of that existing agent also we can use. That will help us to build something like that, right?
Right, it is.
Yes, yes, yes. I think that's a very good thing. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep,
Yeah.
thanks a lot for having me, and happy to connect everyone.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And I will. So it's already being late, but our attendees, please try to connect Sajin in his LinkedIn, and if you have any concern, he will be happy to help you. Thank you so much. Now, I don't have any agenda much because we already are late, because I was planning to do something in the end, but I don't think I should do it right now. So, with that all, I'd like to conclude this event. And thanks to all the speakers coming with their exciting, I can say, latest topic, and mostly which is really, really hot topic for these days. So all the speakers comes with their own topic, and those were really good, and all was based on the AI agent. Thank you, everyone. Also, I would like to appreciate our attendees. I know we are already late, but thanks for being and connecting with us till now. So thank you so much, everyone. And we are ending this session. However, if you have any further question, maybe you can reach to our group and ask the question. You can even reach to the particular speaker, and also to let you know, like we will be uploading the recording in YouTube. We will also announce that in our group. Thank you so much. Have a good day or good night, everyone.
Thank you all. Bye bye.
Bye bye.